찌라! 리플을 되는 것까지
엄청난 대구석.
무대만 때려도 그냥 경기가
결승까지 갈 수 있도록 최선을 다해보겠습니다.
제 재능을 세계에 알리고 싶어서 왔어요.
런던은 제가 다녀오도록 하겠습니다.
화이팅! 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 화이팅!
Guys, welcome to Clash Royale Crown Championship Global Series Korea. As we have the venue shots, my name is G Clef, and with me we have Simon. How are you doing, Simon?
I'm good, you?
I am doing great as we have some venue shots, of course, with the Korean casters. This will be our first time casting Clash Royale, as you can see. We'll have some introduction and let you guys know what's happening in Korea. It'll be very, very similar to what's going on in NA and EU with the Global Championships. But how do you feel, Simon, going into Clash Royale tonight?
I think we're going to see a lot of interesting games tonight. We're in a venue that a lot of players aren't used to. There's going to be a lot of nerves. There's some younger players here. It's going to be a great game.
Good. It will be a great set of matches coming at you guys for sure. There's a lot of people at the venue watching it live. Players may feel the nerve for the first time if it's the very first time playing in front of all the people, just like this. As we see, have the Korean casters, of course, you guys will not see our faces until a few more seconds, but soon you guys will get to see us very soon. I can't wait till we see the actual matches. I've been waiting for this moment for months and months, and finally we have this in Korea. I'm excited, Simon.
Yeah, I've been preparing non-stop since I found out about this. I've been playing Clash Royale for a long time. I'm ready to start today. Like, I'm just so pumped right now.
Yeah, we also have a pretty cool video coming at you guys, so we will have some cool VCRs turning up for you guys as it's an intro of Korea. Let's get to see a few of the guys, and the video will be coming right up.
네, 여기 있습니다. 목에 바로 걸어주세요. 감사합니다. 목에 바로 걸어주시고 이쪽으로 퇴장해 주세요.
주요. 안돼. 박한이라고 합니다. 들깨먹으러 왔습니다.
예선 통과만 하자.
오늘만 통과해도 좋을 것 같아요. 열심히 해가지고 꼭 좋은 성적 거둘 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다.
뽑아주시고 적어주시고 성함이 2-1번 성함 말씀해 주시면 되겠습니다. A-4번 전채환 선수분.
기분 어때요?
지금요? 망한 것 같아요.
왜 망한 것 같아?
너무 잘하는 분 망한 것 같아요.
하시는 분들 마음에 드세요? 왜요?
너무 어려워요.
어린 친구들이 너무 많아가지고 질 것 같아요. 피지컬에서 이제 밀리니까 나이가 있으니까.
직장인이라 이제 일하고 와서 매우 피곤하네요.
급식이 미래라는데 아재들도 잘한다는 걸 보여주겠습니다.
최선을 다하겠습니다.
파이팅!
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 지금부터 32강 시작하도록 하겠습니다.
와, 초등학생한테 털린 기분. 세상은 넓고 강자는 많네요.
글로벌 밴을 예상을 못해가지고 아쉬운 감이 많네요.
한댕 유저다 보니까 너무 아쉽네요.
여러분들 너무 잘하셔서
이거 빠르게 지고 가는 게
떨어졌어요. 지금 승자님이 저기 있죠.
충분히 즐거웠던 것 같아요.
And here we are on the camera. Welcome, guys. Again, my name is G Clef. Here we have Simon. You just had a little view of the contenders participating in Clash Royale of Global Series Korea, of course. We had a lot of people participating, but we only have 8 players for the round robin, and we'll see the overview very soon. But so many young ones actually participating for this one.
I know, but I mainly felt bad for that guy who's like, I lost to an elementary school student. Like, that poor guy, he's there, he's prepared for this, he's ready to face, and then he loses to someone who's probably a quarter of his age. Like, that's gotta hurt.
It's gotta hurt, and it's all part of Clash Royale. You can win sometimes, you lose sometimes you just change a single card, and then you are on to winning streak, and then you meet your counter deck, and then you have to start wondering, what have I done wrong here, or what did I do wrong in the game, or maybe something's wrong with the card. That's the kind of thing we'll see from the players tonight, and I know from all of you guys and myself, and same with you, Simon, it all comes from experience and how well you can do with the decks. So let's take a look at the overview. We'll have the double round robin system for Group A and Group B between 8 players. We'll have 4 players in each group. Best of 5. 4 matches coming at you tonight.
Yep, so we have the points system, which is 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, 0 points for the loss. When the points are tied, it's going to be the total destroyed towers, and then it's going to be the time spent to destroy the towers, like how long it took to destroy them.
Yeah, when we talk about tie, it will be at the very end after the double round robin. If the score is tie, there's a tie in the crown numbers, then it will take all the time. But here we have global bans as well as AKA double blind ban rule. Each player will actually choose a ban, and that card basically is out of the game, out of the match entirely. If they choose the same card, then only one card will be banned instead of the 2.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting way to play the game with the ban system here. As we can see, there is the schedule up. These are the matches that we are going to be playing.
And if you want to watch it live, of course, come down to OGM venue. If you are nearby Korea anywhere, you can also get some good presents, like we have socks. I think that event will be coming up. If you come join us at the venue, it will be even more cooler. You get to see the players yourself with your own eyes. But here are the groups. Group A with Hemosu, the famous YouTuber Jun, Yungela, and Jungang. Group B, we have Chashu and Ido, and we have Expo Master and Zebra from top to bottom.
These are some of the best players in Korea, especially Jun. He has like a large following on YouTube. He has almost hundreds of thousands of views for each video he does. He does have a large following here in Korea.
And look at the prize pool. As you see all the coins dropping out. Oh my, I want those coins in my Clash Royale account.
So you can upgrade one epic card from level 3 to 4.
I need more coins. As you can see, lots of prize pool. Of course, not $10 million. It is 10 million Korean won,
which is roughly $10,000.
Yes, slightly less, but it's about the same. And as you can see from the prize pool, these players want to go up, and they want to get that prize pool along with advancing to London. I think that's all the 8 players are looking for here.
I think that is the main prize for most of these players, like the ability to go to London and to play against some of the world's best players from every region. That's is right. More to most of these players than the prize money that we have.
Especially we have the young ones coming up, so they were already from the interviews. They were excited that I'm gonna be the one going to London. There's no way for you other guys to go there because I'm gonna be the one. You can feel the passion coming out from the youngsters.
It's the confidence. Is it overconfidence for the little ones? But if they win, what are they gonna spend $10,000 on? Like a lot of candy?
We'll mostly go to their parents.
I would assume so, yeah.
I would assume so, as you're also a parent yourself. And I'm guessing, because, of course, you can't buy too many candies with them. You can, but you cannot eat that many candies. That's the thing. As we slightly also have the Korean commentators, Caster O on the left, as you guys saw on the screen, and King, the bigger guy in the Korean cast, and myself here, G-Clef, and the bigger guy, Simon.
It's almost a mirror between the two, isn't it? Like one big guy, one small guy.
And you can see today's match, we're gonna go through the first round robin of Group A. First match, as you can see, it's written in Korean, and there is English with their Korean name, but their IGN, their in-game name, is not in English, so you have to get used to it a little bit. First of all, starting with the blue, Haemosu is on the left, and Jun on the right. Match number 2 on the left, blue, Jungang versus red, Yungela, and it goes through because it's round robin. They have to face each other once every match.
Yeah, so they'll be playing each other one time, and it's a best of 5 for each match in this. We should be looking at some good games, but some of these players I've never heard of before. Like, I've never heard of.
There are some famous, very popular YouTubers for sure in Korea, but some of these players has no record in any tournaments. They just came through the qualifiers, and seems like we're gonna get to see a little bit about the players.
어떠한 데이터도
Let's go
없기
see the
때문에
video.
처음 들은 선수고
전혀 아는 게 없어가지고
누군지 잘 모르겠어요.
안녕하세요. 저는 해모수라는 아이디를 쓰고 있는 정종인이라고 합니다. 방송도 출연하지도 않았고 유튜브도 활동하고 있지 않기 때문에 다들 절 처음 보셨을 겁니다. 주변 사람들한테 실력은 많이 있다고 칭찬을 받았거든요. 자신은 있습니다.
컴퓨터 많이 좋아하죠. 컴퓨터 영재, 정보 영재.
알고리즘은 능력이 있으면 출력이 있듯이 클래시로얄도 능력을 해서 저의 유닛들이 싸우고
제가 한 리플레이들을 2배속으로 돌려보면서요. 뭐를 실수했고 그리고 뭐를 잘했고 상대 덱도 항상 분석하는 습관을 들이고 있습니다. 우선 준님은 제가 공격할 때 스펠을 같이 사용한다면 뚫을 수 있지 않을까 생각하고 있습니다. 아직 절 잘 모르시죠? 저는 다 알고 있습니다. 제가 꼭 이겨드릴게요. 파이팅!
안녕하세요. 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 여러분의 실력과 트로피를 올려줄 준입니다.
너무 팬이어가지고 사진 한번 찍고 싶었어요.
우주 대스타라고
안녕하세요. 유튜브 채널을 운영하고 있는 준이라고 합니다. 노출이 많이 되어서 약점이 될 수도 있다고 생각을 하지만 굉장히 많은 덱을 두루두루 연습하고 있기 때문에 두루두루 잘하는 것 같아요. 해모수 선수에 대한 데이터가 없기 때문에 크게 신경 쓰진 않고 해모수 선수가 제일 쉽지 않을까. 저랑 같은 조가 된 걸 굉장히 유감으로 생각하고 제가 4강으로 가도록 하겠습니다.
Both players on their seat, ready for the game already. As you saw from the short video there, as we have Hamosu on the left in blue. He has no tournament information at all, which could be a problem for his opponent, Jun.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jun has no information to go on. Like, some of the other players, he could watch other games, but Hamosu, like, he is unknown. He has no information whatsoever. I think Jun is downplaying how important that information is.
Yeah, should be a lot when you're preparing for your opponent. It can be a big tool if you have previous records or what they like to play, how they make the decks and sort of like that. But we have current trophy. Not the highest trophy I've ever seen before, but he has made it through the qualifier. Maybe he has some secrets coming up.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that might be the lowest trophy point, like trophy total we will see in the tournament. That is really low for this kind of level of play, but he clearly has the skills to back up his total.
Compared to 4.4k trophy. Well, he has 5,000 now, but his highest is 6.5. I was wondering why he was such a big YouTuber, but it shows he has the skills, it seems like, with the trophy here.
His videos are also quite gimmicky. He does a lot of gimmicks, he does a lot of explanations, he does a lot of gameplay. This guy is pretty much the total package of a Clash Royale YouTuber. He can do anything and everything when it comes to these games.
It seems like so, because when you try to make those videos, you end up trying many different things, try to entertain your viewers at the same time. Those experience though, it's also practice. Not only that you practiced for the tournament because of those videos, but you have a lot of videos, and I saw those videos and there were a tons of them. So even Hamasu, when you can actually watch all the videos, I don't think it will come in handy when there are too many decks on the other side. Oh, here comes the band, the Prince.
It's the Knight.
Oh, the Knight. Never mind. The Knight and the Mega.
The Mega Knight and the Knight. This is
both Knights coming in.
Yeah, I wonder why he chose the Knight. I guess he's thinking there might be some mortar shenanigans coming from June. Like, the mortar deck revolves heavily around the Knight and archers to protect your mortars. So I guess he's chose the Knight there to try and stop that mortar play. But the Mega Knight is an incredibly good card right now.
Of course, it's one of the newest cards added into the game in, I believe, only a few weeks ago, to be honest. About a month now?
Maybe it's less than that. I think 2 weeks, because the challenge was a few weeks ago.
So it's a new one, of course, but can't take a lot. But a surprising Night Band. I don't think I've seen any Night Band coming out from the other regions. That should be an interesting match coming up, as they also will have 3 minutes of time to. Now they will start making the deck. So with these bands, what do you try to make out of it? The Knight, of course, was a surprising one.
Yeah. As I said, I think banning the Knight is mainly to stop any kind of mortar shenanigans. Like, the Knight is quite a tanky unit for very low cost. And I think banning that definitely plays into more of a strategy where it might just put off June. Maybe June uses the Knight as a real staple in nearly every one of his decks. And by banning that out, he's opening up June, maybe pushing him to some uncomfortable situations.
Maybe that could be one of his favorite cards, as you guys can see on the screen right now. I see Sparky. I saw Sparky on Hamasu's hands.
I definitely saw Sparky, but will that actually make it into the final count?
Well, as you can see, I see Sparky again with Giant, with
a Bat, Goblins, Fireball, Elixir Collector. He's looking to play a very greedy style here.
Yes, maybe he's trying to have some collectors there and try to have some speed ups and then go with the Sparky. Or if you get Sparky in the beginning hand, you can actually push that in from the very beginning. You can actually get a lot of offensive tools out of that.
So the Knight ban has started to make sense. Like, if he is trying to play these greedy decks, he is quite worried about the mortar decks. By removing the Knight, he's removing that mortar deck that comes out, and he can then use his Elixir Collectors to their maximum potential. He doesn't have to worry about the mortar taking it out.
I think that could be a very good way of building the deck, as you have to not just make one, as we'll have lots of games. It is best of 5, so you do need to, and you do want to have multiple types of deck. You have 3 minutes now, but later on you have a lot less time to switch around your deck. So might as well use the time now to fix and make lots of. Seems like June is ready to go, just raising up his hand right now.
I didn't quite catch the whole deck, but it does seem that he's using Log, he's using Bandit, so he's using a very legendary heavy deck. I don't think I've seen something similar yet. This may be just June feeling out how Hamasu is going to react to what June can throw at him.
I think we'll see lots of heavy decks coming out from Hamasu. We didn't quite catch too much onto what June was trying to have. Maybe he had some light decks he can just shuffle around this deck, try to have all the spells ready to go when he needs him, like Log or Zap or even Lightning Spell if he had some. Seems like, oh, look at this. Is he?
June Clash Royale fighting!
Yes, that's what it says. It says June Nim, which means senpai, of course, in Korea. June, respect. Going to June, maybe?
I think June has earned most of the respect from anyone involved in Clash Royale.
Big fan of June in the crowd, as June is probably around below 20s, and the guy who was cheering for him was around 40s, close to 40s at least.
I think that's a low conservative estimate of the guy's age. I think he was pushing 50. It might be June's relative.
We'll see. I think the game is ready and about to be start. Let's wait and get into game number 1 between Hamasu and June. Here we go. We are going into game number 1 between Hamasu in blue YouTube June CR on the right.
So Hemmers just starts off with the Princess. I don't think we saw that, but June starts off with the Miner and the Poison to take out most of the defense here.
Princess has such a big range, so she can shoot those fire arrows from far away, but nice poison spell coming out for an offense use, actually also for a defensive here. But does that Miner? I wasn't really surprised, and we saw lots of other regions playing Miner so many times. One of the most popular cards used right now.
June currently has a bit of an advantage here with both Elixir, I think, and also damage on the towers. Like, he's getting some good chip damage in on this bottom tower here.
The Miner is done attacking. The Princess taking care of the rest, and Goblins are now attacking in. But June got a pretty decent damage onto the bottom right Princess Tower, already down to 1654. Now we're pushing in a little more with the Electro Wizard here, as they will just trade in the middle. Seems like a very light deck coming out from June, but still Hamasu holding in 3 more cards. What's it gonna be? You have to show your
that luck,
special
that
ones
luck
here.
completely missed. I think he accidentally clicked there, and it revealed that he does have the log, which means that if June is carrying something like Skeleton Army, he's going to be very hesitant to drop that down.
Of course, if he has another... I feel like there needs to be a playmaking card, and they are not showing it right now. Could be a Hog coming in, perhaps. There are Bats and Miners dropped once more. We'll
I think
just shuffle the cards.
This is the first time that the Goblin squad, the Goblin gang, actually managed to distract the Miner enough where he didn't deal that much damage to the tower. Like, that Miner has been dealing so much damage to both of these towers.
And here comes once more to just harass, but June has done a lot of damage to both the buildings. Now here comes the attack onto both sides.
Yeah, Hemasu is still holding on to 2 cards. Like, I really do wonder what they are. Like, I can't think of what they could be.
I think he's waiting for the perfect moment for June to actually use a lot of his elixirs and also to tank in so he can do burst damage onto one of the towers here. But as he is losing right now.
Yeah, if he keeps waiting though, he's going to lose he's going to lose at least one of these towers and then probably lose the game.
With his Miner actually chunking in so much damage along with the poison spell here. June is just not really getting any towers done, but does not have too much time left now.
June just doesn't seem phased at all. This is Monday for him. Like, this is just an ordinary day. Actually, it's Tuesday, isn't it? But he's just relaxed. He's not trying very hard. But Hemosul, he feels the pressure.
He knew that he had the time, and there comes the last shots into the left Princess Tower there. And June will take game number 1 here, as the Miner seems like it's going in very handy, and Hamasu seems like he does not have a good way of dealing with the Miners coming in all the time.
I mean, who'd have thought that having a unit that can go anywhere in the field would be incredibly powerful? Like, he did so much chip damage with those Miners. Every time he dropped one down, he was doing at least 4 or 5 hits each time, chunking away at all of those towers. June, he just doesn't look phased. He's just like, yeah, I'm playing Clash. This is what I do. You know. Yeah. So
now they're making a new deck. Finally, they will get an entire minute to switch their deck.
June is done already.
Really?
June just raised his hand straight away. He's like, nope, I don't need to do anything here. They have 60 seconds to change as many cards as they want in the deck. And June straight away just raises his hand. I'm done. And now he's talking to the referee, I think.
He's quick, as I'm sure he's done a lot of crazy decks.
Yeah,
from what I saw his YouTube clip, some of it, and I saw some crazy decks happening. And he won a lot of it too. He's really good. He's skilled, and he's entertaining at the same time. That's why he's so popular here.
Yeah, this next game, he is probably running Goblin Gang, Barrel Goblins, Goblin itself, Skeleton. He's probably running everything that's really weak to everything. And
really low elixirs. That's how you shuffle your cards. So you get what you waited for. You get exactly what you want. It seems like we are ready to jump into game number 2. Let's see game number 2 between Hamasu and June.
Yep, so I would really like Hamasu here to do something completely different. Like he needs to put June on the back foot.
Now let's go into match number 1, game number 2.
So while we're waiting for the elixir, I would not want to be in that locker room. I cannot imagine the smell after the barbarians have been there after fighting in the arena. Okay, so straight again, the poison down on that bottom tower, taking out the princess.
There's my favorite card! Ice Spirit, let's go. And he actually splits
His
the golem.
Goblin Gang.
Goblin Gang here.
And there's the bats, jumped on top, and
Oh,
Hog
here
Rider.
comes Hog Rider. Now he wants to go all the way in, but the bowler comes in for the defense. But
the bats look like it's gonna, yeah, took out the bowler. Like, that's a really good trade. They're about equal right now. Like, there isn't much to put them away, but there's that miner again, straight onto the tower. He didn't do much this time, though.
not too much. The miner was taken out pretty single-handedly by the princess. Mini, along with some bats now, pushing in. Mini doing tons of damage. Even got two shots onto the tower. Now only has 1,074 remaining on that tower now.
So yeah, Hamasu now has like a really strong advantage coming into this game. He's done damage to both towers. That tower looks like it's going. It's gone. That Hog Rider has done it.
He seems like Jun wants to collect a few more, and because he could have defended it but the cost would have been way too big, so I think he's saving it for a max attack later on here.
I don't even know if because we can't see his elixir, I'm assuming he did have enough to at least drop the minion army.
Possibly.
Yeah,
maybe he was just looking for his perfect chance to actually...
I don't know what he was trying to save him for.
Well, we'll see Mine dropping out on the left as the bowler is pushing to the right side. Mine are doing not too much of the damage. It seems like Jun is right now struggling a little bit against the mini mecha that's actually pushing in. There's a Hog Rider pushing into the structure now.
And the Ice Golem down as well, but the minion army will take care of it. Princess just to completely eliminate that wave.
The Minion Horde is a very good way to counter all the, especially the heavy tanks on the ground.
Rocket was the last card.
Rocket hits the bowler and the tower here. Hamasu may actually get 2 towers as he still have 20 more seconds to go.
Yeah, the miner this time for Jun is not doing as much damage as it did last time. Like, he's not, I don't know if he's not using it as effectively or Jun just adapted his playstyle a little bit to be a bit more aggressive to punish the miner.
Let's see as Jun
this is
says good game, and seems like it will be GG. Hamasu taking game number 2 with Hog Rider with Mini Mecha just pushing in like that. Did tons of damage to the left tower and single-handedly took that one.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried a Hog Rider Mini P.E.K.K.A kind of push before, but it just seemed if it reaches the tower, it's just going to deal so much damage compared to that minor chip.
If you see, even on the ladder, I do try to go on the ladder and see what kind of cards, what kind of decks the top ladder and the global people use, and there seems to be many. From even when I started playing Clash Royale, I try to look at the best cards, so I know which one to upgrade, which one not to focus on upgrading because I lacked on gold back then. But Mini P.E.K.K.A was one of the cards that I focused on from the very beginning, and we see this kind of play coming out along with the Hog Rider, and it seemed to work against Jun. Maybe Jun did not have the perfect shuffle with the poison spell along with the miner this time, could not really deal with too much. Where Hamasu before he was trying to defend so hard, now when he switches into the offense, Jun could not really defend against his offense too well. Maybe this is the way to go for Hamasu right now.
Yeah, so like those kind of push things, punishing the miner being dropped right on your tower, because like if you're making a push, that's 3 energy that's not going to be defending. But do you think Jun will make any changes this time, or do you think he's going to try and stick with the same deck?
I think it's about time for some changes here, as seems like having some log is not even enough for all the fast movement. Like Hog Rider is so quick, it will get to your tower if you do not do anything. He did have minion horde, but it was often used on to the other side, and knowing that timing, Hemos just went in right after when he knew he had the elixir advantage just like that, because Jun was busy defending, using all his elixirs for the defense onto the other side. Very good strategical uses of Clash Royale here.
Yeah, it was good punishment by Hemosu. Like, he punished Jun. Every time Jun played a card, there was a punish there. Like, he either had like the positive trade, or he had just a great push on the other lane to just deal damage. So here we are, we're going into set 3 of this game.
Let's see, game 3. It is 1-1 tied. It is best of 5 as Jun wishes good luck, and Hemosu replies with the same.
No BM between these two. There's no hatred between
respect
these two.
here.
Despite everything they were saying in the promo video, there seems to be a good level of respect between the two. You see the Mega Minion being played by Jun this time. He didn't play that in any of the other decks. Same as the Archers and the Goblins, actually. Like,
But here
this
comes
is a
the
new deck
Hog
for Jun.
Rider once more. Can Jun defend? Now the Ice Spirits comes in handy, freezing the Hog Rider right before the tower.
Yeah, this is a completely changed deck here for Jun. It's a very similar deck for Hemosu. Does the winner not have to change? They have to stay with the same deck.
Well, after game 2, I think they only have few of them, and they cannot really change too much. Actually,
the rocket being used on the Elixir Collector there, it's an even trade, but I don't know, it kind of feels a little bit wasteful because it didn't do much damage to anything else.
so the Princess taking out all the defensive units coming in, but they're still holding in. Jun holding in a single card on that question mark. Hemo's actually holding in 2 at least right now. The Mega Minion for the defense.
See the Ice Golem there, like taking away the Mega Minion. That was amazing placement there by Hemosu, to just draw that Mega Minion across the board so that both the Crown Towers can deal damage.
You knew the range, exact range coming out. Here
There's the mini P.E.K.K.A. So yeah, this is the same deck as last time. So
this is the attack that Hemosu did so much damage last time. He's doing tons more.
Hemosu is like taking it to Jun now. Like Jun is once again on the back foot. This is something he's probably not expecting. In the video, he was like, this is an unknown player. It should be easy. But right now, he's struggling to deal with it.
Now this is the push once along. Even with the log now, Hog Rider gets one hit, only one hit on the tower, but he has to defend now. His Prince is going to be enough.
Ooh.
Expo comes along, my favorite card coming out from Jun.
Straight away, that rocket though takes it out. Doesn't deal much damage, but that was an expensive way to trade there. And Jun's push deals good damage, but it's not enough. Like, Hemosu still has the advantage in this game with 592 on that top left tower.
Yeah, that's right, Jun. I think his strategy is revealed already with the Expo, but if Hemosu cannot get that big rocket in hand at perfect time, this Expo is now doing damage straight to the tower, going down quickly. Does take it out. Almost.
Is he? Do you think
even
he's
now
gonna play it? Do you think he's gonna play the rocket straight away and like hope he can get the rocket again, or if he can deal log damage?
Well, I think he has to do so right after. If this Hog Rider does not take it out,
he really does need that rocket to hit on the tower. Like, I think it'll push the game. It'll win it for him. But he just needs the opening. Like, Jun is going all out
is not
here.
taken care of. Seems like that's gonna be it. Jun takes game number 3 just like that. Expo. I did not expect that to come out tonight at all, but here we have Expo Master here.
Yeah, Jun, for that whole game, he was so far behind. And then suddenly he just turned up the heat. He was like, oh, wait, he was using ice stuff. So he turned down the heat. The ice just started flying out of his air conditioning and just froze Hemosu. He couldn't do anything.
As Jun will take game number 3. Now it is 2-1 in favor of June. Let's see how quickly they get ready for the next setup. It could be just one more game coming up. If June takes the next one, it's best of 5 and the match will be over with a 3-1. But Hamasu can always have this back. Seemed like he had a pretty good understanding of the defense, how to deal with Expo. Of course, when he did not have the rocket available, it was pretty tough. But with the Hog Rider, he could push in pretty hard.
Do you think he'll stick with the Hog Rider strategy, or do you think he's going to change it in this 1 minute to change his decks?
I think it was not the worst, but not the best, which means it can work against the Expo if he had the focusing. I think he was focusing way too much on the left. If he tried to distract by going to the right sometimes, which June actually does, he's trying to go towards both sides, cross that bridge, but seems like Hamasu is only focusing on one side. I think that's a strategical mistake, if you had to call it out as a mistake.
The bloodthirst. Like he gets the tunnel vision. He starts dealing damage. He's like, I'm just gonna steamroll one lane, take one crown, and hope that I win this match. But he needs to be taking more crowns in his victories, because the crowns at the end could determine whether they're in the top 2.
Yeah, that's right. You need to be in the top 2 from your group to make it into the deciders and next the semifinals. If you're the bottom 2 of the group, you will be dropped out. And when we have ties, the crown counts would matter a lot, because that's that's gonna be the one coming after right after the ties and win points.
And nobody wants to go out in the group stage. Like, that's almost as bad as the guy losing to the elementary school students.
Seems like both players are already ready for set number 4, game number 4. Let's go right into it. This could be the end of the series or the comeback of Hamasu.
So another good luck. Do you think this is a bit of mind games between the two? Like, June is like, good luck, trying to distract right at the beginning?
It's a spit. It's respect coming out. There's a poison. Poison again. Seems like June wants to take this again with the poisons.
That was exactly the same opening as the last game. If it carries on this way, June is going to walk out 3-1. He's just going to win here.
Well, we'll see. Hog Rider taking down, but taking a lot of the shots from both towers.
Ice Golem gets one hit and then a small explosion. The miner, though, 3 hits.
That's the thing. Here comes a miner.
Oh,
the
was almost 4
mini
hits.
P.E.K.K.A. did the defense, but when he was pushing with the Hog Rider, it did so much damage. Here comes the Ice Spirit. Does not actually get to the target. Rollers are pushing Mini away from. So, just like what we said, Hamasu is right now trying both ways instead of just focusing on to the left one now.
Yeah, his deck hasn't changed again. He won one game. I think he thinks he can carry that win on. Hopefully, he thought that June would stick with the deck that he used in the second round, but he didn't. He looks like he's changed again a little bit, shuffled it up.
See as
and again the miner straight on that tower with the poison. Mini P.E.K.K.A. manages to clear it out pretty quickly, but there's still quite a lot of damage.
Ice just tanking in the way. Mini P.E.K.K.A. Oh, now split it perfectly to deal with both sides. Nicely done by June there. That's exactly what he needed. He could have used 2 instead, but using just 1 minion horde was enough to split between the 2, because he found out that Hamasu, as we mentioned, is now trying to split his units to the left and the right at the same time, trying to distract what's happening. This will get taken out.
We have about 700 damage against Hemos's towers, but there's only like 600-700 done to June's tower. Like, he doesn't have the same advantage he had in the last game that he still lost. The Hog Rider, once again though, connects with the tower, deals quite a lot of damage. Like, June doesn't seem to deal well with the Hog Rider, or at least as well as we would hope he could deal with it.
I think it's because he does not have too many air units, and if you have minions, the 3 minions, it can be low cost, but minion horde is 5 elixir cost, which could be a lot affecting. Here comes Miner again. Seems like he's focusing on to 1 now.
So that mini P.E.K.K.A. defense is really good against the Miner.
It is down to 1302. Now here comes to sudden death. Hog Rider actually doing tons of damage onto June's tower now.
I just
below
can't believe
1,000.
he's got that much damage again with the Hog Rider. I thought June would have had something to deal with. Like, he must have known it was coming.
It's tough when you do not have the right defensive card at the moment.
The P.E.K.K.A misplaced so that the Miner can get 3 or 4 hits there. If the P.E.K.K.A was at the front, the mini P.E.K.K.A was at the front there.
He could have taken hits instead.
Or even he would have killed it after one shot. Like 1 or 2 shots.
The Hog did so much damage. We are dead even in this game. Of course, a little more favor going to Hamasu.
But that Miner once again, this is neck and neck. Like, there comes the rocket.
Oh, 16 left, but the Log will do it!
Oh!
And that's gonna be game number 4 and the end of the series. And June takes the very first best of 5 from Clash Royale Crown Championship Global Series Korea. And of course, we will have double round robin. Another match will another sets of matches are coming up, but June just living up to his name as he is the more popular one here with the fame, as lots of fans at the venue cheering for him at the moment.
I think 2 seconds later on that log, and we would have been going to game number 5. Like, it was just that close in that last one, and you can see the disappointment in Hamosu's face.
That was a close one for sure. If Hamasu also had some spells available at that same time, maybe he could have traded a little bit just like that, but June, I think he was holding in all that rocket for the ending moment. He knew that with the Miner, he could keep on scratching the tower on the bottom left and then finish it off with the rocket. Probably the 16 health point left on the tower was not to expect it, but he had the Log at the very end, so it didn't really matter as he had the perfect spells to deal with the rest of the hit points on that tower.
I think that Hamosu is still holding on to a rocket at the end of that game, because if it was the same deck as the previous set, he had the rocket in hand, he should have used it.
Well, with that result, of course, going to June, he had some moments where he struggled, especially in game number 2 that he lost against the big push from Mini P.E.K.K.A and the Hog Rider. But seemed like right after, in game number 3, was pretty well dealt with. And with all the experience, I think he had the lead, and he takes match number 1.
There is, of course, a problem going first. Now that his opponents have seen that and seen that the Hog Rider can deal so much damage, maybe everyone who's going to face him later on, who are well rested, like these players are probably going to go in the back, they're going to get a drink, they're going to relax, but the players who are yet to play probably are sitting there watching this game. They're going to know, like, hey, June didn't deal really well with the Hog Rider. So here we have a replay of match 1.
Now we can take a look at the elixirs on top also. So right now, for June, he did not get the lowest card that he wanted. There comes the mine right after. So I think that's exactly why he used the poison spell before. He did not have the perfect card that he wanted to use. So just having that down so he could get the next upcoming card. It's like
we're just going to watch it again. The Princess opening by Hamosu, every time he opened with it, it just didn't seem to do enough. Like, the poison just comes straight down on it, and then Hamosu had nothing to capitalize on. He had no follow-up to that Princess opener. Like, he didn't have anything that wouldn't die to the poison, or would die to the poison, that he could play straight after the Princess.
I don't quite remember which exact set this was from, but seeing that rocket is available along with the bowler could have been the very last. No, never mind. This was the one that he lost actually from all the Hog Rider coming in.
Yeah, this is the one that June lost, but even still, Hamosu's opening just didn't seem to deal enough. It didn't bait out enough damage, like, to the elixirs, is what I'm saying. Like, he's trading the Princess, which is 3 energy, with the poison, which is 4. Yeah, sure, he's -1 elixir, but nothing has been done at the start of the game. Like, he can just sit there, wait back again for the elixir to restore itself. And then June has a lot of time to think.
Yeah, if you have to burn a lot of your elixir from the very beginning just because you do not have the right starting hand, of course it has to do with a little bit of luck, but sometimes you do have to drop your heavy ones and look for the rotation coming in, look for the shuffle, because the next card that you want will be coming up very soon.
The Ice Golem Hog Rider Mini P.E.K.K.A. really did a lot of damage in that game against June. Maybe he just wasn't expecting that kind of turnout, but after he knew it was coming, he just was like, yeah, sure, I'll just play everything and just walk away the winner.
And I think it's also because after game 1, he did not really expect Hemasu, who was just defending all the time, to be that much aggressive. In game number 1, he was just trying to defend all the miners coming in and got dealt with, had to deal with the poison spell coming in all the time. Basically, game 1, he was defending all the time. In game 2, he suddenly changed his momentum, went in all in with the Hog Rider, with the mini P.E.K.K.A. And I'm sure Jun was very caught off guard there, and I think that's exactly what happened. After that, we saw him just improvising at that moment from game 3. He had a good idea of grasping how to deal with those cards coming in. Hog Rider dealt with minion horde sometimes, or split it between when they were coming in both lanes. So good adaptation coming out from Jun. I'd say that actually brought the win for himself tonight. Welcome back to Clash Royale Crown Championship Global Series Korea. That was a fiery match number 1, and we have match number 2 waiting for ya right here, as we already have the players seated there.
Yeah, I think June winning was expected by most people. And I think everything was just as expected there. Like, we don't know what we're going to expect in this match, though. This could go either way.
But let's meet the players before. Take a look at the players here.
제가 마지막 학기라 이제 한 달에 한 번씩 시험이 있어가지고 준비하고 있었어요. 요약 전체적인 내용을 평가하는 시험입니다. 네, 안녕하세요. 저는 중앙지역 아이디를 쓰고 있는 한승표입니다. 중앙대 의대 다니고 있는 본과 4학년입니다. 캠퍼스 로얄왕이라는 이벤트에서 중앙대 로얄왕 타이틀을 입고요. DDP에서 준우승을 했었습니다. 지난 대회에서는 8강에서 떨어졌지만 이번에는 한 판 한 판 열심히 상대방을 분석하고 노력해서 4강까지 올라가는 게 목표입니다. 카드를 빠르게 내면서 상대방을 정신없게 만드는 플레이를 좋아합니다. 전략이 뭔지 제가 보여드리겠습니다. 파이팅!
안녕하세요. 유튜브 게이튜브 채널을 운영하고 있는 니얼굴윤겔라라고 합니다. 인비테이션이라는 그 대회 같은 게 있었어요. 거기서 제가 인성질을 했어요. 휴맨십을 한 거죠. 근데 이제 그게 너무 남아서 유튜브에 윤겔라만 검색해도 바로 밑에 윤겔라 인성이 나올 정도로 좀 제가 게임을 잘 못해서 좀 못한다는 얘기가 정말 많이 듣거든요. 근데 좀 8강에 진출해서 굉장히 뿌듯합니다. 가벼운 유닛을 빠르게 순환시키는 덱이 좀 잘 맞아서 가벼운 덱을 정말 좋아해요. 평소에 안 하던 스타일 덱들도 연습하고 있습니다. 네, 이번에 8강에 어렵게 진출했는데 결승까지 갈 수 있도록 최선을 다해보겠습니다. 화이팅!
It seems like all the players are going out that door. I wonder what's outside the door there.
Absolutely nothing. Like, there's just a steep drop. They just walk out the door and they just fall.
Well, here we have 2 new players here for match number 2. We have 중앙지역, which literally means center and hell. Well, Chungang is also the name of his university that he's going to right now. As you can see, he is a medical student. And Yungela, who's a very famous, very popular YouTuber in Korea. This will be a big clash for sure. Looks like a very studious student versus an entertainer here.
Yeah, so Yungela, I think I remember being at that show match. It was against one of the Supercell employees way back when. And he made a huge mistake of putting the cannon in the wrong place. And it cost him the game. And I think that's what caused his notoriety.
On left in blue, we have Junghang with a lot higher trophy, 51 or 5100 currently, but highest 5.8k. That's pretty high, if you tell me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good total to have. And Jungela, though, sitting there with 6,423 is his highest trophy ever. That's on par with June, who is also a YouTube star. Like, the two YouTube stars here are coming out, and they are showing that they are some of the best players in Korea.
Yeah, at the end, we'll have the YouTubers going against each other as we have the round robin going on for Group A tonight. But we have Yugila in waiting as they are about to get this match started. And we will be starting with the ban card, though. We'll have a minute very soon to decide what kind of cards do you think they will ban here. A very popular one, Unexpected Knight, came out in match number 1. But do you agree? I think you have to agree about the minor ban.
I think a minor ban needs to be done here, or at least against June. I think I would do it, but these two, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Oh, there we go. Minor is
the minor ban and a Hog Rider ban. So this is basically the two most popular tower damage dealers. Does this mean we will see Royal Giant?
I think we'll see lots of. Maybe we'll even see some princes coming out. Who knows? Maybe a Sparky.
I could see Sparky, but when I said Royal Giant, your face just went like. You just went, what? What is that card? Like, I've never seen it. Yeah, Royal Giant is in a strange spot right now, so I really don't expect us to see it in either deck, in any deck for this whole tournament.
But from when I talked to the Korean commentator King, he was saying, I think we're gonna see lots of Hog Riders coming into the tournament, maybe a lot of bans. And we even saw Hog Rider coming up a lot in match 1. We even see a ban card here. Now each player will have 3 minutes to make their decks right now. And of course, with that ban, minor, I think they have to change the strategy now. When that's banned, we already saw a pretty good strategy coming out from June in match number 1 with minor. And
you know, I don't think they do. In that video, both of them mentioned they really, really do like fast-paced decks. Banning the minor, banning the Hog Rider, that's the counters to your light, fast-paced decks. So I think both those bans play into the way they want to play this game. They want to play fast, they want to play aggressive, they just want to go throwing everything at each other and hoping that something sticks or something, you know, they deal damage to the tower.
Look at their... Saw some of the decks coming out from Yungela here, and they were light. I saw lots of 1, 2, and 3s in those decks. They will have a lot more time, of course. Did you get to see some of Jungang's deck at all?
You know, after the last game when we looked at their decks and we saw like Sparky and we saw things like that, and then we never got to see them played, I'm not putting it out here.
See Mega Knight, Pekka. See some heavy bowlers, even duelers from, I believe that was the screen from Jungang on the blue on the left there.
Yeah, Jungang mentioned that he does like the fast-paced decks, but maybe he's playing a bit of mind games here. He knows that he's known for that because he has been in the spotlight a little bit. So maybe he's going to play a heavy deck.
Oh, we'll see. As seems like one of the most popular cards for lots of Korean players is the Three Musketeers here. You drop it from the beginning and you tank it from the front line, and then you can just push through with all those damage. Musketeers does tons of damage to a single unit, but not towards the multiple units though. Not like Princess or anything like Ice Wizard.
Minion Horde will deal quite a bit of damage against the Three Musketeers. Because it does take 2 or 3 shots for a Musketeer to take down one of the minions. So, I mean, it's a good card to start with, definitely. They have good health, they have good survivability, they deal good damage. But going later into the game, I'm not sure they will appear as frequently as other cards.
I think he just has, maybe he'll just not use it as a deck to counter some potential heavy decks from the other side. Three Musketeers can take care of all the heavy tanks that can, like giants or even golems perhaps, coming in because the range will help evading all that damage from explosion damage. That death damage coming out from golem sometimes actually takes out all the units. So having those Musketeer as the ranged units You can use that as a defense. Of course, it requires you 9 elixirs. It's a big amount, but if you can do all the damage with that card, I think it's a solid one.
Yeah, especially when they say they like light decks. Maybe that is the one heavy card in the whole deck, and then everything else is incredibly light. I think we're getting ready to go into the game here.
I think we are ready to jump right into game number 1, match number 2. Let's see what happens between Jungang and versus Yungela here. Jungang in blue in the bottom and Yungela on top in red. We'll see Elixir Collector.
That's greedy, starting off with that Elixir Collector.
From the very beginning, I like to use it when it's possible, but I often get punished from the other side if you actually cannot get too much off of that.
It
you get
really
punished.
does look like Yungela doesn't have anything really to punish it here. Oh,
Perfect
lots of damage
way
there.
to deal with it. Even the zap was used there.
I don't think, like, he addressed a little bit the Elixir Collector, but I think Yungela got like 3, maybe 4 Elixir from that. And that could prove to be the edge he needs in this deck, because right now we're looking at an average cost, including the Elixir Collector, we're looking at an average cost of 4. Minus that if he's not going to keep playing it, because it does pay back itself. He's looking at an average cost of like 2 to 3. Like, that's really low.
Let's see how low you want to go, but with the collector, you can of course get a lot more if you need the extra elixir at the right moment.
There's those musketeers you were talking about.
Actually, Yungela brought it out this time, splitting it apart and actually bringing the bandit on the other side too. Using the zap to clear the minions. He's pushing both ways at the same time. Battle Ram does not really make it into the towers.
So Yungela there got quite a lot of damage done to Jungang's left tower. And now with the Battle Ram coming in, oh, didn't quite make it. Like, both players here are playing the Battle Ram. This is something completely different that we saw from the last game.
Seems like both. What's a little different, along with the Battle Ram, Yungela has 3 Musketeers, but Jungang also still holding on to that one secret card there. What do you think it's going to be? One of the tank that can tank a lot of damage to the front line, possibly?
I don't know, but whatever it is, it's not punishing those Elixir Collectors. Those Elixir Collectors are gaining so much more than they should be getting from this kind of play. Like, he should be trying to bring them down as quickly as possible.
Nice zap timing onto the bandit and the Battle Ram there as he was about to go into the towers. Because he had to force use the poison spell to take out the 3 Musketeers, now the collector is just getting free soak there. And lots of minions. And here comes another Battle Ram. I think this may connect to the tower at least.
Oh, it's going to get
There's
close.
a charge and does get the hit.
But is it going to be enough to finish off that tower? No, not quite. But, like, Jungang here is playing from such a disadvantage with those Elixir Collectors gaining so much.
Oh, Jungang was holding in the P.E.K.K.A. And
very interesting choice.
Damage coming in now. Here's the thing though, these Musketeers do tons of damage and the perfect way to deal with the P.E.K.K.A.
He missed the Electro Wizard there for most of the way. Like, he was just in the wrong place. Actually, I think the minions were in a great position to avoid the damage.
He actually used the minions onto the right. Was that the right choice? Does he have enough to defend onto the left side? The Battle Ram will actually, never mind, the bandit will actually get the hit here, and seems like that's going to be game. Nicely done by Yungela. Well played.
The idea behind the Battle Ram there was to try and get the bandit to follow it away from the tower so the tower could take it down. But the bandit was just like, yeah, you know, I don't want to hit that. I'm just going to knock on the tower. And then that was it. Like, the tower just collapsed.
It was nicely done. And
it was a good idea, just didn't quite work out the way that Jungang probably wanted it to work out.
Well, I think if Jungang at the end did not pop that minion onto the right side, which defended some, but he needed more units onto the left side to actually do damage. I think he needed the minions to be on the left to do the extra amount of damage. Maybe he could have stalled that for another another minute or so and make it into a draw instead of a loss. Of course, having a draw, having a tie situation is a lot better than a loss for sure.
A tie is really hard in these conditions because you have to. There's 180 seconds of overtime, and 180 seconds is an eternity. Like,
yeah, for the losing player especially.
Well, for either player, like that's gonna be another three. That's another game basically that you're playing right there. That's one whole extra game, just in overtime, and it's gonna be hard to defend anything for 3 minutes in Clash Royale.
Yeah, it's really hard. But I've had games with no structures down, and of course we only play for an extra minute in the regular games, but it's a different one. But 3 extra minutes, and game 1 did go towards Jungel라. They will have another minute, especially for Jungang now, because it seems like some adjustments are needed at the moment.
Yeah,
Those players went with the Battle Ram last time. Do you think there will be any changes coming up?
I think Jungang definitely needs to change. He just did not do enough damage going forward. Like, it felt like he was just throwing units in the defense the whole time and nothing kind of past the defense. Like, you want units to defend and then do at least some offensive damage, but nothing of Jungang's in that game really managed to do that. Whereas Jungel라, his defense always went into the offense. Most of the time he was on that front foot. I don't think he's going to make many changes at all. I could be completely wrong here, but I think he's going to try and stick with something very, very similar.
We'll see. As Jungang, he was holding in that last card, and it ended up being a P.E.K.K.A, which did some defense but could not actually go towards the offense, barely crossed the bridge. I believe it actually did not cross the bridge because the minion horde came in, and that was a big tool for attack and defense for Jungel라. Seems like the deck changes are done and over. We should be ready to go and jump into game number 2 here between Jungang and Jungel라. Let's get right into the game.
So here we are. But like, this is the start of every game. Like, they're just gonna wait until they get to 10, see who can make the first Goblin barrel straight off the bat, and a Goblin gang coming out from Jungel라 to deal with it. We are seeing some different decks here. There's the Princess.
This is
the Battering Ram again, though, for Jungel라. Jungella seems to really like this card.
Knight stopping the Battering Ram, perfectly done. Seems like even Ice Spirit was dropped in the middle of that too.
Yeah, Jungang has no damage done to his towers. The Battering Ram probably should have done something, because it didn't really do much damage to the Knight either. The Knight seemed to survive.
Yeah, I think this one is a very defensive one coming out from Jungang, just doing some damage to the towers with the Goblin Barrel every single time. But this Battle Ram is getting close to the tower. It does not actually get the hit.
Once again gets Ice Spirited into the Knight, just dealing the damage. Like, the mustachioed Knight of Doom is just like taking on everything. He's dealing so much damage to that Battering Ram. Especially with the freezes coming from the Ice Spirits.
Let's use a Goblin, but the zap is enough, and this Pandu will do some damage onto the tower. About even for both sides, but here comes the Elixir Collector. Does Jungang has what it takes to actually take that out? Does have to drop the rocket.
That is the perfect tech choice. He had to have known that Jungel라 was going to be using that Elixir Collector again, that he would be trying to make advantage, so he techs in the rocket to just take it out instantly for even trade. If you could get something else next to the Elixir Collector, that's really, really good, but just taking out the Elixir Collector, after seeing what it did in the last game, is a very, very smart choice.
That's exactly what he's trying to do, as we see more Goblins dropping everywhere, but it gets taken out with another zap.
Jungang is dealing with everything really nicely, but again, like, there's a lot of defense, but anytime he tries to go offensive, it just gets shut down almost immediately.
He's trying to deal with too much onto the right side. Can he actually defend onto the left side at the same time?
Oh, but the Ice Golem maybe make the tower?
One.
Yeah, so one hit.
One hit and drops a predicted log here and goes all the way, but does not actually land on the goblin standing behind the tower at the moment. Nicely done by Jungang.
But as defense, Jungang didn't really need that log to collect. I think he was going more, that was more of an offensive log than a defensive log, because the princess there is going to clean up the goblins, and he knew it. He knew he didn't really have to worry about defending.
Here comes a sudden death. Any tower destroyed will be game, and seems like
there's the princess again. Like, the princess is doing so much work here for Jungang. Like, on the defense, it's just taking care of nearly everything from YNGYLA. And on the offense, it's clearing the path for the offensive units to get up there and deal some damage. As you can see, like, the top right tower, 712 HP left. Compare that to last game when he did next to no damage. Like, Jungang really did come into this completely thinking through everything.
Here
There's
comes
the rocket.
The rocket. Seems like it's going to be GG. 500 damage done onto the tower, and that's it. Jungang takes game number 2. What nice play. He forced out so many units to take care of those goblin barrels. And from the defensive side, he only had to use Princess when YNGYLA had to use lots of units like goblin spears, and all at the same time he was using minion horde, which is I believe 5 elixirs. That's a lot of elixirs have to be dropped for defensive, and you cannot really make that into an offensive tool. I think that was a problem for YNGYLA there.
Yeah, the knight was dealing a ton of damage, but overall, like, Jungang's deck just had a certain synergy that just seemed to dominate what YNGYLA was bringing to the field. Everything he did, every unit he was playing, every card that came down did something different from what they were doing in the first one. The princess was dealing so much defensive damage. Like I mentioned it in the game, but that princess was MVP of that match.
Princess was defending because of that long range. I love to use princess at the same. Also, because of the long range, you place it in the middle. Then you can basically take care of all the skeleton army once that comes along, or any ground and air units at the same time. It does AoE damage. So that's the thing. He was defending it with low cost. He was very cost efficient for his defense. And on the other hand, YNGYLA may have spent way too much for his defense and could not really get the offense started because he was using too much for his defense.
Yeah, I'd say the elixir trades were much better in that game for Jungang than for YNGYLA. But I think YNGYLA here is going to bring a completely different deck. Like, he seems the kind of guy who wants to get up in your face, and that deck he had that won the first game, I think he got really frustrated after being, like, almost manhandled by that princess. I think he's going to go a bit heavier this game.
Yep, it is 1-1 tied up between Jungang and YNGYLA right now. But they spend a minute to change their decks. Maybe we'll have some surprising cards coming up, but let's go into game number 3. Here we go, the same Jungang in blue on the bottom, and YNGYLA on top in red. Same. Dropping the collector once again.
The collector start is really powerful as long as there is no rocket there for Jungang. But it looks like Jungang has changed his deck a little bit again.
I believe he did not have the poison last time, and
definitely didn't have a bowler. I think this is the first deck again, right?
And also YNGYLA did not have a giant before. Maybe this one. I feel like this deck from each player is a little heavier compared to before. Inferno. Well, let's see how much damage it does, because once
I was not expected to see the Inferno Dragon there. Like, that's kind of a shock, but that rocket was on point, dealing so much damage. And with the what's it called? The furnace. That's what I was looking for. With the furnace drop there to distract the giant out of the way, he gets. That's like a perfect defense. Neither tower has been hit when the giant was right up on his king's tower's face.
This is a really heavy deck coming out from Jungang. That's why he had to use the rocket for the defense. Otherwise, he could have just brought out some small units to deal with all the Infernal Dragon coming up. But as you can see, Furnace, Rocket, not just the minion horde, bowlers.
Again, like this reminds me of the first game because those elixir collectors are getting so much work done. Like they are just producing so much elixir. There's a Mega Knight.
There's the Mega Knight though. Can he take care of both things at once? Furnace taking some hits instead of the tower, but I think the real problem is this Infernal Dragon though.
No, the real problem is that Mega Knight. He's doing so much damage to that bottom tower. Like he did nearly 2,000 damage to it, like huge damage, and he wouldn't have been able to play the Mega Knight without that elixir collector being on the field for practically the whole lifespan.
And this is all because of Jungang cannot really deal with elixir collector at the moment. He threw a barrel, but that was instantly dealt with a zap coming out from the other side. And even arrows dropping down this Infernal Tower will, after this unit, will do direct hits onto the tower. If that alone will do tons of damage, this may be game. And it seems like it will be
Jungang
two
knows.
towers.
Jungang knows that.
Even more game. May get all the way to
third?
3.
Can he take the King's Tower? It's
7.
getting close.
It's gonna be it. All towers down. Nicely done by Yungela there. What a play.
Yeah, MVP this time. I said Princess was MVP last game. The Elixir Collector. MVP, it just stands there. It does nothing but give you an advantage. If it wasn't dealt with, he just got
nothing?
further. Well, I mean, it does nothing but give you an advantage. Like, it can't defend you at all, but it pushed him so far forward. Like, it gave him so much chance to drop those big units that there was just nothing Jungang could do again.
I like the Psychology Warrior as Yungela, because I think Jungang changed his deck to a heavier one, thinking that Yungela may not change, or because Yungela said in the interview, and he's known as a big YouTuber, he likes to use lighter decks oftentimes, but this time it was different. He was using a heavier deck along with the Elixir Collector. Gives you an easier time to build up all the elixirs, bring out the heavy damage, heavy tanks into front, and that's how he dealt with even the barrel. I think the only one he did not have a rocket in this game for sure. If he had, he would have thrown that into the back.
He did have the rocket. The problem was, like, the pressure was so much that he had to use the rocket on the defense. He couldn't use it to just take out that Elixir Collector straight away. Like, he had to use it defensively instead of offensive.
Then if you use that 6 elixirs for defense, you cannot really make the offense at the same time, as the max is 10 all the time. What a strategy we saw from Yungela. I want to try that deck when I go home.
That was arguably, I'm going to say it now, I think that might be the heaviest deck we will see throughout this tournament. That deck was so heavy, like literally it broke the scales. I don't think we could measure how heavy that deck was in comparison to what we've seen so far.
And along with, Yungela also had a zap along with the arrow, I believe. Those two were the only spells that he had, but that was enough to defend all the small, like the minions coming out from Jungang. Maybe he will go back to his lighter deck. Maybe he has something new for set number 4. Seems like we are ready to jump in after a minute of time for them to change the deck a little bit. Let's see what these players have brought for game number 4. Should be coming up very soon.
So as we wait for them to get back up to 10 mana, the start of this game, Jungang has taken a page out of Yungela's book and has decided to go for that Elixir Collector.
Major changes coming out now.
But straight away, Yungela has a huge counter with that Dark Knight with the Ice Golem. Like, this is going to deal, so close to the tower.
Does not get a hit on the tower. And Jungang, after landing on that Elixir Collector, that's what we said before. If you land on that from the very beginning, you may get punished because you lack the elixir right after. And Yungela was trying to be dominant because of that, but minions took care of every single thing. The
Mini P.E.K.K.A too. Like, the Mini P.E.K.K.A was the one that was dealing most of the damage towards the Dark Knight, but like everything in that offense should have done damage, but it didn't. Yongela's offense was almost perfect, but Jungang's defense was immaculate.
Oh my, we have three Musketeers drop down from both sides. And that single, see how much difference it makes with the single Ice Spirit just like that.
It just turns the tide of the battle straight away. And there's a second elixir. I think Youngela looks defeated.
I
like
think we can just fill the we can just fill this field with elixir collectors and see who wins.
Just build a wall.
Build a wall, and they will never go through. Of course, they will run out before the first one will run out before the third one is placed. Most of the time, but
build a wall, and every time the opponent drops down a legendary, we build it one elixir higher.
Here's the golem. That's exactly what he was looking for. And the reason why he brought three Musketeers, lots of the front line. Actually, Yungela's three Musketeers doing tons of damage.
Yeah, those three Musketeers there, they turned that push looked dangerous. But the three Musketeers just took it out with ease. The problem is now I think we're going to get a lot of stalemate. Like, I don't think there's going to be much push here because both of them want to keep both these elixir collectors up. These decks are kind of heavy, but they're very, very fast-paced. That's the one thing we know about these decks.
Once you get those collectors on the ground, it can be very fast-paced. But seeing all the towers up on red, they seem pretty damaged. And going into an attack now, but this golem is a big problem. The law comes down
the Dark
to
Knight
delay
is
going
to be a big problem on that bottom lane. Like,
but it will be taken care of though. But can you defend this coming out? Three Musketeers dropped with a rush, but seems like that's not enough from the attack coming out from Jungang, and we will tie with 2-2. What a series we have!
Jungang's deck there, like, once again, I'm gonna say, elixir collectors. They're showing up in these decks. We need both players need to pack a tech unit or like a rocket at least to be able to just take out the elixir collector earlier than normal. Even something like a fireball, which will deal some damage to it, reduces the amount of time it's going to be on the field.
Well, sometimes you just do not know what the opponent will have against you. I think they had a similar idea by bringing the collector, but of course their push was different. Jungang had golems, and on the other side, the ice was not as effective, I would say. The push was concentrated onto the right side, and the ice spirit actually froze lots of the targets. Oftentimes that really got the lead for Jungang. Also for the golem to push in, and the three musketeers standing on the back did free damage.
I mean, both players' decks there were incredibly greedy again with the elixir collectors. Like, they were both looking for to eke an advantage with those elixir collectors. My problem now is I think Yongela is going to take this last game. He has the advantage in that he's going to be changing his deck. He's going to know that he has to do something about those elixir collectors. He knows there's going to be golems. Like, I think he has so much information going into this last game. Assuming Jungang's deck is the same.
Well, I'm assuming because they both played a very heavy elixir collector deck in game number 4. This could be just a light deck coming through with shuffling all around. This miner was banned, of course, cannot be used, but I'm expecting to see some more barrel play coming out from Jungang as he was trying to do so before. Well, of course, Yungela had a pretty good counter against all the barrels coming out, but maybe not this time, as there could be some psychological war going on here as the time has run out to change your deck. Seems like we're going straight into game number 5. I'm loving this series. 2-2 tied between Jungang and Yungela. Let's go right into the game. All right, the final one.
The rubber match.
Just as I expected, Wishing Barrel coming out the fireball. Nicely dealt with.
Fireball, but again, it doesn't look like Jungang has anything to deal with that elixir collector in the middle.
The fireball will be a big problem.
Especially with this knight coming out. I mean...
And I don't think that will be the only defensive spell coming out. Oh, here we go. We see another Infernal Dragon coming out from Yungela.
Yeah, I cannot see this going well for Jungang. Like, he's not dealing... Once again, he's not dealing with that elixir collector. That elixir collector is going to accrue so much value as we go through this game.
Inferno Tower dropped down now. That's a good defense.
That is a really good tech choice against the heavy decks that Yungela is going to be bringing with these elixirs. There goes the rocket straight onto that fresh elixir collector. He's just put himself in an advantage. I thought he didn't stand a chance here, but he pulled himself back in with those two amazing choice cards.
I think this somewhat actually counters all the elixir collectors that could be standing on top. I don't think Yungela should even try to put those down anymore, because there can be a lot of counters coming out.
I mean, I think after one rocket comes out, I think you're safe to drop the elixir collector then.
Nice fireball coming out from Yungela.
The defense there is going to be so strong against anything you can put out. Like, the Inferno Tower should deal with a lot of these units that are coming out.
You can see from the face cam, Jungang was shaking his head as he dropped down another knight to defend against this Infernal Dragon.
And knights do not shoot upwards.
Do not, as they cannot throw the sword to the dragon.
Juggler would be a nice...
well, they can, but technically, they will not have the sword to attack.
Just runs over to where the sword has landed and picks it back up and tries to throw it again.
Well, I guess technically a spear to say, but here comes another giant. Along with this has to be dealt with. Has to commit.
And there's the rocket. So, like, the elixir collector came down, but now the rocket has been expended. He drops down that second elixir collector. He knows that rocket will not cycle quick enough to deal with it before he can get at least 2 or 3 energy from it.
So that's
probably
exactly why Yungela is forcing another sets of defense with the Infernal Dragon. This time it was taken care of pretty nicely.
I mean, it's hard. Jungang has the advantage here with the amount of damage done to both towers, equaling more than the damage done to his own towers, but Jungang's bottom tower is very vulnerable right now to what Yungela is putting out.
It seems like it's going to be hard to defend this one entirely. The log is dropped down.
Unfortunately, that Inferno Dragon goes onto the bottom right tower instead of the bottom left tower, but I don't think
it matters at all. There, he will take out one, and seems like he was almost ready to take out 2 at the same time. And Yungela, just like that, takes set number 5 and the series with a 3-2.
That match was really back and forth between the two players. Like, they both, like, every time they could change a deck, they were thinking, I need a tech card to take against this, but I want to do something a little bit different. And the back and forth between the two, that was incredible to watch.
I think Yungela's key card for tonight, I would say, was the Infernal Dragon for sure. Even the Infernal Tower for Jungang was not enough to defend with multiple units coming down at the same time. Of course, if you only have one attacking Infernal Tower can stick with that one, burst down with that laser beam just like that. But when you have multiple, it seems like Infernal Tower cannot do multiple damage in Clash Royale. Of course, you can change the setting in Clash of Clans, but not in this one.
You know, I'm going to disagree again with the MVP here. Elixir Collector. MVP of the game. Like, it doesn't even move, yet it deals so much, like, economic damage. It deals so much economic damage. And here we have the confirmation that Yungela has defeated Jungang 3-2. Now, those 2 wins are actually going to be really important going forwards because it will give him a slight advantage over who was first.
Well, Well, when we talk about how many crowns you take when you tie up in win points later on, then of course taking a win because you can get more crowns if you take a win. So that doesn't matter. Taking as many as possible for yourself matters a lot in this double round robin format. I think he brought a pretty good counter in game number 4, especially with those elixir collectors with the heavy deck. Like in game number 5, it wasn't really dealt with, and that was the series.
Yeah, I just thought like that could have gone either way every match. Like there were points where it looked like Jungang was going to win, then there were points that looked like YoungGela was going to win, and then it looked like they were going to go into a tiebreak situation. Like you just couldn't predict what was going to happen because both decks were like they felt tailored against what the other person was doing.
Well, I think the biggest problem, if we had to point out on Jungang, was that he was using, as I mentioned, too much of goblin barrels, and he was trying to. It did some damage to the towers, but it took a long time. Every single time, it seemed like the opponent, YoungGela, had the right card to deal with every single time. Often the Zap or even the Mega Knight sometimes dropped to just destroy all those goblins right when it landed onto the tower.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to watch a replay here, but I'm also going to say that, again, look, the Elixir Collector was so powerful. Look how long it is staying on the field. It's gained its energy back and more every time.
I think this is game number 3 because we see a furnace coming out from Jungang. Replay of game number 3. We can see the damage output coming out from the Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, the Infernal Dragon there took away the bowler before it actually did much damage. And that rocket taking out the Inferno Dragon, sorry, really did help the defense.
And right after the rocket was dropped, he dropped in the Elixir Collector, so he has to wait for a while for another rocket. So meanwhile, he can use the full power of Elixir Collector and try to drop down all the cards that he has.
Like, as we can see, Jungang here just doesn't have the rocket again. He has bowler, he has goblin barrels. Now, goblin barrels could have been okay to drop onto the Elixir Collector there, but I think he was afraid of activating the King Tower.
We have the giant bowler to delay the time. But this was the biggest problem. Mega Knight dropped from the other side. That's the biggest problem. Now you see he does not know which one to focus. Both sides taking so much damage.
Yeah,
which one do you have to defend?
That Mega Knight did so much damage. Like, he was worth his weight in gold, and that would be a lot of gold, right? Because that armor cannot be light. So he dealt, as I said, nearly 2,000 damage to the tower. Like, MVP right there of this game. Obviously not the whole series, because the Elixir Collectors, again, totally dominated this game.
Well, we'll see. That was the replay of game number 3, and that was some power we saw coming out from. Seems like YoungGela likes to run those Elixir Collectors a lot.
The strong economic game was just overbearing against anything that that Jungang put out.
Yep, that was match number 2, and that, of course, with a 3-2, that was as close as we can have. Maybe we'll have some ties coming up for you in match number 3 and 4. But that's it for match number 2, and we will be back very soon with match number 3 of Group A. Welcome back to Global Series Korea, and we have match 3 waiting. It's been a while. We waited for some time before match 3, but I believe all the players are ready in their seats to get everything going. But so far, of course, let's see, June taking a win with a 3-0, a 3-1, and Yungel라 going to full series and taking a win against Jungang with a 3-2. We're gonna have match number 3 coming up at you very soon. What are some of the summaries? Tell me some of the summaries and what were some of the key points between match number 1 and 2, Simon?
I think match number 2 was a lot more economic based compared to match number 1, with Elixir Collectors being really, really powerful in those games. But I think if you put those Elixir Collectors in the first set of games, they'd have done nothing.
Oh, let's take a look at the players for match number 3.
탄탄한 정보력을 바탕으로 상대의 엘릭서와 제 엘릭서를 다 기억하고 스펠을 예측하고 플레이하는 걸 좋아합니다. 중앙지옥 선수는 랭킹을 항상 수시로 살피거든요. 좋은 덱이 있는지 아니면 메타가 어떻게 돌아가고 있는지 이런 걸 많이 참고하는데요. 중앙지옥 게임이 가장 쉽지 않을까 생각합니다. 수비가 굉장히 좋지만 한 방이 있는 그런 덱을 하나 준비하고 있습니다. 랭크 게임에서 들려본 결과 90% 이상의 승률을 보이기 때문에 기대하셔도 좋을 것 같습니다. 정말 깜짝 놀라실 거예요.
중앙대 의대 다니고 있는 본과 4학년입니다. 해모스님에 대해서는 전혀 아는 게 없어가지고 해모스 선수에 대해서는 잘 모르겠어요. 해모스님은 제가 누군지 해모수 선수가 좀 유명하지 않다 보니까 덜 잘하지 않을까 하는 생각이 듭니다.
중앙지옥 게임이 가장 쉽지 않을까.
해모수 선수가 덜 잘하지 않을까 하는 생각이 듭니다.
We have both players ready in their seats, Hamasu and Jungang. Seems like still wonder what's out that door as they head out. Maybe as you said, they will just drop down right after. Maybe there are some coins waiting for you, like just giant chest or even legendary chest.
What if the door just opens out into the sun? Like, that's quite a bright door they're walking into. Like,
oh man.
Oh, what if they're walking into the light?
They are walking into the Inferno Tower, as Simon is referencing here. But we saw these players already. Seemed like we have a good understanding of how they want to rotate their decks, what kind of decks are their favorite. But Jungang, of course, you saw some heavy with lots of barrel plays happening. But Hamasu was a defensive master, but you do have to make an offensive move to win the game, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, like everyone's saying, like, I don't know Hamasu. He must be bad. He must be a bad player. Like, I don't think he's going to do very well. But in the first game against June, he didn't perform terribly. And I think now that he's got into a rhythm, he's in the second set, his second game of the evening, I think he will perform a lot better. And I think Jungang really needs to be careful.
Yep. Here we have Jungang in red. Now, of course, if you're comparing the trophy, there's a gap there between 4K and 5K, of course. But at the end of today, that may not matter. If you play better on that chair tonight, then you win. Trophy does not matter in competitive play if you can win the game just like that. But I fear that if they actually, because these players also saw what they did before. Let's see if they have any changes compared to before.
So the bans.
Hamasu bans the knight once more, just as before when he was versing June.
And Jungang bans out the princess, which is interesting. Like, I don't know why Hamasu really doesn't like the knight. Like, I think it does come down to he doesn't want to play against the mortar-style decks. But it does seem like a waste of a ban when he got absolutely ripped by miners in the first one. Maybe he should have banned that instead.
Well, Jungang did play a few knights, I believe, and more Hamasu played lots of princess. So I think after watching the first set of matches, they actually decided to. I think it's more of a sniped ban coming out here for both players, taking out one of the favorite cards they were playing in match number 1 and 2. If it works, of course it can. I think it's a very good snipe, if you tell me.
I still don't think that Knight ban is worthwhile. I think you have more ways to deal with the Knight than you do with a Miner. Like, Jungang showed that he cannot deal with... Hemosu showed that he cannot really deal with a Miner. Like, he really struggled against Jun's Miner play. Like, why didn't he try and take out something he's shown to be weak at? Like, Jungang here watched those games. Like, he must have seen them and is probably thinking like, well, I'll just continue Miner play because it's a style that he's probably going to be comfortable with, and he's just going to take out Hemosu again.
Well, let's see. Maybe he's the one actually prepared with the Miner coming up.
Blocking our view there.
That's what I do sometimes. After losing to a similar deck multiple times, I actually try to copy that deck and play for myself and try to get a good understanding. And then once I get a good understanding of the deck, then if you play that deck, you also know a good counter to that deck, and I try to make the counters to it. But in this tournament, when you can see all the play style before, because this is a round robin format, which I love, there are so many mental wars going on right now as they played something before. It can be part of strategy. Maybe you intentionally show light decks only in match 1, and then you go towards the heavy decks in match number 2. That can also happen for either one of the players.
I mean, it's a completely different thing from ranked. Like, in ranked, you never know who you're going to go up against in the match. Here, they have time to look at, they have time to prepare for their opponents. So those kind of mind games are so much more effective than in ranked. Because in ranked, you might not ever play the same guy again, but in this kind of format, you know who you're playing against. You could have changed your deck a little bit so that you can play against the weaknesses of your opponent.
Especially for Jungangir, as Hemosu is a not well-known player. There is no information about him at all. In any of the tournament, he has not participated or appeared in any previous tournaments. So without any information, the only information that you have is
that first game.
Is that first match. And just knowing that, I think what he made is very smart ban choice, banning Princess here. And it seems like we are ready to jump into game number 1, though. I'm ready. Are you ready, Simon?
Not really, no. No, of course I'm ready.
Stop trolling here. Well, we are going to get this thing started once more. Let's go into game number 1 between Hemosu and Jungang. Here we go, Hemosu on the left in blue, in the bottom, and on top in red, Jungang. See Bats dropping out.
The nice spin, but Hemosu is now using the Miner. Maybe he's just copied the deck straight off from what he saw in the game against June. Like, that's very different from what we saw him play last time.
Also dropping the P.E.K.K.A. as he also did in game 2, I believe, in match number 1. Lots of heavy ones dropping out, but I don't see any Elixir collectors coming out though.
Poison coming down again. Like, that's going to deal decent amount of damage. It's going to really weaken the Electro Wizard. Oh, it killed the Electro Wizard. Really good placement. He almost got out of it just before that last tick.
Dropping the bat seems like he did not have the perfect counter to it. Did some tanking, actually did a good amount of damage onto the Electro Wizard coming out. Now he's the one using the mines for himself. The Miner is doing some damage onto the left tower alone. It's not being dealt with at the moment.
So much damage. Nothing coming out here from Jungang to deal with that. That's a good 500 damage it did with next to no pressure at all.
Maybe he only had some cards like Hog Rider and heavy ones. It seems like he had the Hog Rider. Could actually, of course, with the Hog Rider, you can actually defend the miners like that. So maybe not at the perfect timing, and Hog Rider did not do too much. But that's a fair trade still. Hemosu was holding into his Elixir all this time. Another miner diving in.
One of the big problems with that second miner that came out there that did all that damage was that Jungang did nothing to defend it, and Hemosu went back up to full elixir. So he got all that damage done for practically no elixir cost at all. He recovered everything by the time that that miner was dead. And nothing came out of Jungang.
Yeah, compared to those Hog Riders, I think miners did just free damage oftentimes.
Yeah, the Hog Riders are getting shut down really early from some really good defensive play.
Ooh, the Electro Wizard is not going to be on the poison spell, but there's another miner diving in. The bat will take care. Now this Hog Rider, this one will be a great offensive tool. Even the Electro Wizard is dropped down for defense.
It dealt okay damage. It didn't look as effective as it probably could have been, but it still dealt some damage. It got to the tower, it did 2-3 hits, chips away that tower a little bit more, and brings them very close. Like a 500 difference at this point in the game, or even a 600 difference at this point in the game, doesn't really matter, because if you get one positive energy trade, you win the game.
Yeah,
one positive elixir trade.
And both players does not have anything like a rocket to do burst big damage onto those towers. Nice aggroing from the other side. Nicely done by Jungang here. But the miners is on the tower now. Even poison spell drop. I think that can be enough. And that's just enough with the extra goblins doing the last bit of damage along with the poison spell. First game going to Hemosu, just like that.
That is a big victory for Hemosu. I think he needed some kind of confidence boost after that first set with June, and he got it right there. You can see the fist pump. It meant so much to him to actually win this game. And he wins it. I think he's going to continue this momentum. I actually think this is going to be 3-0.
This is the moment as he has brought the miner for himself, which was a big counter to his deck alone in match number 1. Now that he's using the miner, of course, we did find the pattern when players won their first series or the first set or second set. They kept the same deck, not exactly the same all the time, but a very similar deck until the opponent had a very good way to counter or deal with that deck. Maybe he will just stay with the same one again. What do you think so, Simon?
I think he'll stay with the same deck because it really did perform
it's literally, the sun means hay, and Mo is written in the middle, and Su is water. So that's what he has on the cheerful
and then boom,
there.
it's a bomb at the end, I think. I think that's what he's going for. Like, sorry, I was mid-sentence and then got distracted by that sign because I was really trying to figure out what that last symbol meant.
No, we'll never know. The fan cheering for Hemosu at the moment as he took set number 1, and we have another minute to change the deck.
So here we are, we have another minute. As I was saying, I think Hemosu will keep the same deck. It did really, really well, but it just seemed like a very common deck type. Like, I'm pretty sure most of the players here today will have some kind of counter to everything. And these type of decks, which are just kind of run-of-the-mill, you see a lot on Ranked, they are going to have a huge advantage because they've played against this style of deck thousands of times. They know, or they should know, how to deal with it if their trophies are getting up as high as they think they are.
Yeah, Chungang's Hog Rider did not do too much as a P.E.K.K.A was dropped down every single time for defensive use, and it also pushed all the way in to the offensive line, and along with the miner. That was the biggest part. It did scratches, but if you take so many scratches onto the tower, you eventually get it down to 0.
I did not know if you hit a tower with a shovel, it falls over. I think I learned something about the way physics works by watching the miner at work right now.
Well, these miners are pretty strong, as you can tell. Even the arrows are not enough against the shovels, and it seems like we're ready to jump into game number 2. Simon, you just have to get me off there. But let's jump right into game number 2 between Hemosu and Jungang.
So a little bit of back and forth. What is your prediction? Now that we have Hemosu as 1-up, what do you think the final score will be?
Well, let's see. With this momentum, I think he can continue to chase. Now seems like he is the one choosing the heavier deck with the Elixir Collector popping up from the middle. There's a Graveyard coming out from Jungang.
This is a very heavy punish on the Elixir Collector, I think. Like that skeleton potion really is. Sorry, the skeleton potion. The graveyard is quite difficult to deal with. Lava Hound coming out, but that elixir collector is still standing.
The poison spell did some damage to the tower along with the collector there. But this lava can be dealt with pretty well with the Ice Wizard. It will slow down a lot more.
I'm not a big fan of playing the minions behind them. Oh, Baby Dragon. I wasn't expecting to see like the. I know Baby Dragon is a very common card,
but the lightning spell did tons of damage. Now even the
tornado pulling them back out of the way, but it didn't change lava. I think he was hoping that tornado would pull away the Lava Hound and change its target, but it just ignored it. It didn't go for the skeletons. It didn't go for them at all.
Well, let's see as. The Lava Hound, as they're collecting all the elixir for now.
He's getting so far ahead with this elixir collector. I'm telling you, today's MVP is going to be the elixir collector.
But Jungang is also holding in that last card available. With that many spells, may not be a rocket, of course. I think he does need another unit. Might just be all spells.
That's a lot of damage down there. Like, these spells are dealing so much damage to that tower.
The combo of those spells, tons of damage. Here comes another Mega Minion along with the lava.
So the Tombstone, I'm interested that Tombstone has been played by both players here. It's one of those cards which you don't expect to see much in high-level play, but combined with what we're seeing here, it does seem to be working as that bottom tower falls to the Valkyrie.
Valkyrie was just walking in front as the graveyard was taking all the aggro, all the target from all the small units coming out from Hamasu. Jungang already took down one, but this lava is also doing tons of damage. It got pretty well dealt with there. Maybe just the end of the game, just like this.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to get there in time. 600, 500, yeah. The graveyard positioning was... It missed the first time when he used the tornado. Trying to pull that Lava Hound towards it, it didn't work. But the second time, he drops it in the perfect position so that the Lava Hound starts attacking the graveyard, and that's it. The Tombstone, sorry, the Tombstone. So he goes to attack the Tombstone instead of the tower. If that Lava Hound had connected onto the tower, we'd have seen 1-1 there.
I think Jungang actually drew out pretty good aggro play there. Drawing out all the units so it does not do too much damage onto the tower. Hamasu on the other hand. He brought some lots of air units, lots and lots of air units, but those tornadoes stalled so much time, drew into the center, and the mini dragon did the splash damage. So that's a perfect use of how to deal with all the air units coming out. And his defense was, I gotta say, what worked in game number 2.
Baby Dragon is one of those cards that helps you to get from the lower tiers up the arenas all the way up. Like, Baby Dragon is pretty much a staple in every beginner's deck the whole way through, and that's probably why I wasn't expecting to see it here.
Well, Dragon worked out pretty greatly with the tornado, as we mentioned, but that Lava, do you think we'll see another air unit deck just like that with Mega Minion, Lava Hound, X? Did he even have extra minions there? I think so.
He might have. I can't quite remember if he did, but I don't think we'll see such a heavy air deck again. Especially not in this series. Maybe later on, but I don't think we'll see it come out today.
And even the elixir collector was somewhat countered by the graveyard, and the poison spell dropped down from Jungang. Elixir did have some effect in that game.
It definitely helped Hamasu stay in the game, but it didn't have the same effect as it has had in other sets.
Well, let's see. They had a minute to change their deck. Maybe this time there will be lots of changes and maybe no more air units coming out from Hamasu, but let's get in as we are ready to jump into game number 3 between Hamasu and Jungang. go. Again, Hemasu in blue in the bottom. And up on top, Jungang in red. Another baby dragon coming out.
Bats coming to deal with it. Not a very good trade at all, actually. It's just one shot.
Seems like Jungang kept the same deck with a graveyard here, but a change coming out from Hemasu. Drop down. A big one there with a zap is enough, but the tower took so much damage. Down to 900 already.
I don't think it should have taken that much damage from the Mega Knight at all. But it just... He was standing there, he should have been doing all the AoE damage to deal with it, but it just didn't quite deal with it. And I'm not sure why. And that was a good tornado, but it didn't quite work because of the Ice Wizard. Like, he was trying to pull the Dark Knight, the Mega Knight into the Crown Tower to activate it, and it didn't quite work. The Ice Wizard was in the way.
Even if without it, he did not take any shots onto the tower, I would say that's a solid defense coming out. Sparky is here.
And it's going to get destroyed
by
the Graveyard
goodness, Sparky.
Or is it? It's well, it survived.
It's also tanking a lot of those graveyard skeletons dropping out, and here we go with a solid damage into the front line. Log pushes it back, but it's not enough to take out Sparky.
Is this going to be enough? Is it going to connect to the tower? Is Sparky going to connect?
One shot, half of its HP.
He almost was ready for that second shot. Like, Sparky dealing so much damage there. Like, that should never have happened. He should have dealt with that much earlier, but he kept throwing unfavorable trades into what Hemasu was pushing forwards.
That was close, and Graveyard now will do some more. It's like it's not really connecting to the towers. Did 100, 200, close to 200 something damage along with the poison spell, but it's not enough to take it down. And now Miner comes on to the other hand. Tornado has to be used. Actually,
activates the Crown Tower. That is big. That will increase the defense, but it doesn't matter. Mega Knight jumping onto that tower. Jungang has 25 seconds here to do something.
Sparky dropped onto the other side now. This will just get the Ice Wizard gone and deleted. Wrecked just like that.
Alt F4 on that unit.
He has the poisons. He drops the poison spell, but
is
a lot of units coming out from the other side. 10 HP left on that tower. I believe we're going to have the end of the game just like this. 10 HP.
Oh, Jungang was so close to taking that set. 10 HP. A gust of wind would have finished that match. Like,
that was a close game. The closest game we've had so far in Global Series
and
Korea.
that would have only tied it. That's the thing. Like, it was so close to tying it as one tower each. Like, if that was the one that would have taken the victory and he'd have lost, like, that would have been even bigger. But still, like, he could have tied that game.
I think there was a chance, but still a lot of the units from Hemasu was still pushing towards the towers against Jungang. Of course, his King Tower was already activated, but still there was a lot of units, if I had to call, and the log was not enough for the defense. And even if he took that tower, I think he would have lost with another tower taking down very soon. I think that was a likely situation we were going to see. But with that, Hemasu will lead with 2-1. They will also have another minute now to just change decks.
Well, my prediction has come out wrong. I said it was going to be 3-0 to Hemasu. Disappointing.
Well, it seems disappointing to yourself.
To
right?
myself, obviously.
Yes.
In terms
Not
of
to the
gameplay,
players.
this is what we want, right? We want to be here. We want to see 5 games we want to see 5 sets every match.
I want to see some ties out there. I want to see perfect defenses with lighter decks just shuffling around. It's not happening at the moment because we have lots of miners, lots of drawings, lots.
I cannot imagine sitting here for nearly 6 minutes in one game of Clash Royale to get a tie. Like, that's just a little
It's rare,
bit
but it does happen. I believe there was a tie even in China a couple months ago. That was one of the games that I remember. It was a long one, and they were also having both very light decks. There were no counters to it, but I think the time's up, and we should be ready to go jump into game number 4 very soon. Maybe Hemosu will just keep the same one. Maybe we'll see Sparky once more. As we go into game number 4, we are ready. Maybe the end of the series. Maybe a good comeback coming out from Jungang. Let's go into game number 4.
So here we are again. Both players again waiting up until that 10 elixir point. As we see the furnace come down and an ice golem come down on the side of Hemosu. And a hog rider jumping straight for that furnace.
Minion horde though.
Dealing with it rather simply. There's a miner.
A miner very well split it in the middle too. Doing some damage onto the ice golem, and miner did some damage but not too much.
It seems that Hemosu learned from his first game where he didn't deal with the miners particularly well. This time he dealt with it incredibly well, using that mini P.E.K.K.A to take it out almost instantly.
With lots of ground units for Hemosu, I think the bowler is very, very effective at the moment. That push was not weak. The bowlers pushed it back. All the damage went in, and that's how we dealt with just a single bowler. I think Jungang has a lot of elixirs in his hands right now.
And drops the furnace again. I'm not sure if I agree with dropping a furnace here. I would like to see something that is more guaranteed to have more of a field presence.
It's also just like, it's like Deja Vu here, drawing out the Hog Rider for the furnace and making him use the elixirs just like that, and drawing that time with the minion along with the miner, doing some damage. I think he just wants to get scratches onto the tower. Already down to 1370 there.
Yeah, Hemosu has kind of gone back into that issue he had in the first game where he just could not mount an offense. Like, Jungang's towers here have taken 0 damage.
Golem once again and Ice Wizard. Seems like we're just watching Deja Vu happening over again. Furnace and
Hog Rider.
And then Minion Horde.
Is it coming? Oh, Goblins this time.
Maybe he didn't have in his hand this time, but with a log, that's a perfect defense. But Miner should be coming out very soon. At least we still have some question marks on the screen.
Yeah, these perfect defenses are really good to watch, but they're not being converted into any tower damage. Where was that going?
Predicted rocket misses. I think he was waiting for the furnace to land. What a play coming out from Jungang though. Now, after 2 furnaces right in the middle, he placed it on the right side this time.
Some rocket warfare going on here, like shooting over the stream in the middle and just dealing damage. Like one more rocket and maybe a little bit of a tickle will take away that bottom left tower.
These minions and the bowler is pushing down with the miner though. That's the biggest problem.
Oh, the miner is attacking the ice golem and not tickling the tower.
Oh, but
here
this
comes
rocket will
there
be enough
go.
to take it out, and Jungang takes game number 2, and we are tied with 2-2. What a nice play, what a nice counter. It seemed like Jungang had all the tools. He knew exactly how to counter all the ground units from Hemosu.
Yeah, he dealt really well in that game with absolutely everything that was thrown at him. Like, was the tower even damaged by Jungang in that game? I believe it might have taken a little bit of a scratch.
Maybe half of a scratch from a single finger of a cat, or not even at all. I think it was close to 0 damage if you...
Maybe the Hog Rider, maybe a Hog Rider just breathed on it a little bit and it caused
That's a lot
like
of damage.
damage.
I don't want to smell Hog Rider's breath, you know. I may just go down. He may actually take down the entire tower.
That's why he hits it with a hammer, to be fair. Like, if he breathed on it, it would just crumble into dust.
Because I don't think Hog Rider takes a shower every day, you know? Or even brushes teeth every day.
I mean, he sleeps with his pig. Or he sleeps with his hog, I should say. Like,
yeah, moving along. Well, this will be the last set. It's 2-2 tied.
Another game going all the distance.
And that Furnace drawing out all the damage from the Hog Rider. That's the reason why he did not even get a scratch onto the towers, because he had the Furnace. And Hamasu thought another one would be coming up in the middle to aggro, because his Hog Rider was pushing in. He wanted, maybe he was trying to prevent that from happening, and Jungang read his mind.
He read it.
He was on top
perfectly. That's 6 mana lost on that rocket, doing absolutely nothing. Like, it just whiffed straight up the middle. It was a good idea. It just didn't connect. If it had connected, we might be looking at the end of this game.
We'll see. This game will be over after Game 5 for sure. Unless it's tied, we may have our first tie in our hands, but we're going into Game 5 very soon. It will be the end of the series between Hamasu and Jungang. Let's see which player comes out on top in this last game, number 5.
Can you please stop asking for ties? I want to see action. I want to see gun. I want to see like
more action. That's why I'm asking for ties. I want to see 180 seconds more action. Right?
You're absolutely right. What am I talking about? But I don't want to see a tie. I
so
like
there's
games
no reason
where there's a
for
winner.
you to disagree with me. Well, pops onto the graveyard. Maybe he went back to his graveyard favorite back in game number 2 and 3. Seems like graveyard did plenty of damage to those towers.
Bandit taking out the tombstone there, and the Electro Wizard dealing some damage. But again, like, Hamasu has not done enough. Maybe this will change with this miner. The Valkyrie just ignores it. And he activates the King Tower. This is now even harder for Hamasu to attack into.
That's right. Instead of 2, he will have 3 for the defense. That's well done by Jungang. He drew that in, so he could activate the King Tower just like that. Now Hamasu has to think a little bit. How do I want to approach this? As there's more defense on the other side.
The miner will be taken down much quicker as well with that King Tower activated.
And it's a lot more predictable where the miner will land. Probably off to the very side, so it does not actually get too many hits from the King Tower.
Good poison. Just misses the baby dragon though, unless Pekka could drag it in there. Yeah, it just dragged it in. It's 2 ticks from the poison. I don't think it would be enough alone, but with the tower just to finish it off, that's perfectly fine. The Ice Wizard gonna make connection onto the tower. I don't know if he's gonna do much damage. The graveyard comes down. The graveyard comes down onto the tower, dealing so much damage. This is not being dealt with at all. He's letting the tower take it.
Does he use Zap to take out few? But did take a lot of damage. I believe over 500 damage from that single graveyard.
That was a poor trade for him there. He did nothing to... He tried to push the other lane to try and get some damage down, but didn't actually do much. But took so much damage back at home that he's now climbing uphill one more time. Hamasu, I bet on him. I thought he was going to do this. I thought he was going to go 3-0, but he's just
tower is going
missing
down
it.
270. It is close to be going down. Valkyrie will get a hit onto the other one.
Hamasu is just missing that final touch. Every time he loses, he's just missing a little piece of the puzzle.
Just single. Another zap goes on to net. Now the game should be over, and Jungang takes the series with the poison at the very end. That's all he needed, as tower was very low on HP.
I don't think I'm going to try and predict the next game. I thought Hamasu, after
You're
that
pretty
first
bad
win,
with the predictions.
I am. I'm terrible. I mean, you're pretty good at them, but I mean, I thought Hamasu was going to come out. He won that first game so decisively. I thought he would carry that momentum through, but I guess his inexperience is showing.
Well, I think his Game 5 deck was similar or close to the same deck he actually used in game number 1 against the Hog Rider coming out from Jungang, but against all the graveyard he didn't have too much. Electro Wizard did some work there, but not enough to actually take care of all the skeletons that just rise up from the ground, doing so much damage onto the tower all the time. If he had some defensive towers possibly, maybe some goblins for defense, maybe that could have been enough, but just not the best deck choice against the graveyard there.
Do you know Graveyard's win rate?
No, I do not, but I believe it's pretty high.
It's actually 50 point it's like 50.2%. It's very even, and
it used to be higher, but after the nerf.
Yeah, but it only appears in 7% of decks. But it's got a good solid 50% win ratio, even though it seems to do so much damage every time it's played. It is balanced. Like a 50% win ratio is a pretty well balanced card. We see it do so much damage. It ripped through the tower there. And I don't know, it felt like as a player, I hate that card.
Well, seems like Simon does not like a lot of cards. but I like all. Well, I have to be the opposite. I like many cards. I like trying multiple decks. But here's a result. And after a full series, we already had 2 full series tonight. We never had a 3-0 coming out. Oh, this was Hamasu after taking the first one and the third one, but Jungang just took game number 2 and 4 back-to-back and 5. The final one, and takes the series and take the points that he deserved. Actually, he lost against Yungela, so now Jun has a win. Yungela has a win. Jungang, after losing to Yungela, he has a win for himself.
So 3 wins. It's pretty tight at the top.
Seems like we may have to break it down to the tie and see who has more crowns, who dealt with the tower quicker compared to the other ones. Of course, we have match 4 left, so we will be closing very soon. But I like all these. I'm loving all these full of action, full series coming out. Maybe we'll just have a quick 3-0 for match number 4.
I really don't think so. These players seem pretty well balanced against each other. And I think we're going to constantly see 3-1s, 3-2s. I really don't think we will see a 3-0. But my predictions have been wrong pretty much all night. So the next game is probably going to be a 3-0.
Well, let's see. Which replay do you think we're going to see in this series?
Maybe game 2?
I think game 2 is where Jungang actually started with the graveyard. So maybe we'll just get to see a replay of game 5 or back to game 2, where he started to bring out all the graveyard cards.
Maybe.
Oh,
I take offense at what you said earlier. You said I don't like many cards. I like a lot of cards. I just like the basic cards, okay? I like my Valkyries. I like my Witches. They're not the greatest cards, but, you know, they're lovable.
They're lovable, but I tend to do, like, as I'm sure a lot would agree, that I tend to like legendary cards a little more because they're rare and they're strong. But here we go.
This is the Sparky game.
Oh yes, this was game number 3, I believe, with the Sparky coming up from. Sparky actually got a good hit on the left top tower there.
Did. I'm like, as much as Sparky was kind of laughed at earlier this year, it's definitely come into its own. Honestly, I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it. This is the first game we've seen it, and I mean, look how it deals. Look what it does here. There is no way it should be doing that much, but it's sitting with the Electro Wizard. But it just shouldn't deal. It shouldn't have survived that.
That's the thing. They brought out lots of units in the front. Maybe Jungang thought the log was enough to take multiple out.
That Mega Knight actually doing what it did there was super important. If it didn't take out that Tombstone, I think we would have seen a slightly different. It wouldn't have got any connection onto that tower at all.
Maybe. I think that was a great push using the Sparky. Of course, Sparky is super slow, so you do have to have some friends along with to actually do some damage. But this graveyard, of course, became a very good tool later on. But this game, I believe, from what I remember, Hamasu does take it at the very end, even after activating the King Tower there. But that was a good comeback mechanic using all the skills But of course, Jungang takes the series with a 3-2. We have one final one left. Who do you think is going to take it? I believe it's between the two YouTubers, Jun versus Yungela.
Who do I want to lose? And I'll do the caster's curse on them, and I'll choose the other person. Like, I don't know. I actually want Jun to win.
Okay. And for him to take 2 wins tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to see him on top. I think it would be good for his fans, especially. Like, you know, he has a lot of young fans. We don't want to see them crying, right?
Well, the better one wins. I'd say that. And we are done with match number 3 after Jungang taking a win over that series. But we will have match number 4 coming at you guys very soon. So stay tuned, and we'll be back for match number 2. Well, match number 4.
Number 2? We're going back in time here.
Oh, we're back. We're just feeling the rhythm as we are ready to jump into match number 4.
That music is kind of funky, though. You just kind of have to bounce to the beat when it's on.
It is pretty let's drop the beat kind of stuff. It's pretty fun. And match number 4 is coming up very soon, as you can tell, guys. And this one, I think a lot of, especially the Korean viewers, have been waiting for this match because this one's going to be the clash between the YouTubers. I'm excited for this one for sure.
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of explosive. Like, both of these players have a reputation for being over the top, for being very different. And I feel like if they're playing against each other, they both have 1 win at this point. I feel like they might be more comfortable doing something like that.
Well, let's take a look at their video.
유튜브 채널을 운영하고 있는 준이라고 합니다.
유튜브 게이튜브 채널을 운영하고 있는 니얼굴윤겔라라고 합니다. 다운 받으라. 그 전 크라운컵에서 준이한테 패배를 해서 제가 떨어졌는데 이번에는 8강부터 시작하는데 또 준이랑 만나더라고요.
이렇게 또 같은 조가 되어가지고 개인적으로 좀 안타까운 생각이 들어요.
예선대 했어요. 근데 제가 졌거든요. 심리 싸움에서 덱 싸움에서 지더라고요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 여러분의 실력과 트로피를 올려줄 준입니다.
준님, 준 선수가 일단 우승 후보라고 생각합니다.
되게 과분한 것 같긴 한데 높게 평가해 주시는 만큼 더 열심히 해서 좋은 성적 얻을 수 있도록 해야죠.
뭐 실력이 엄청 잘하는 건 없고 유튜브를 하거나 이러면은 좀 노출이 많이 돼서 잘해 보이는 거지. 근데 모델이 그런 건 아니니까 우선 이기는 쪽으로 한번 열심히 해보겠습니다.
2등 싸움 열심히 해서 4강 올라가셨으면 좋겠습니다. 런던은 제가 다녀오도록 하겠습니다.
우선은 해외 가는 게 목표예요.
There we have it. 2 stars clashing as Yungela actually has almost a double in the numbers in YouTube there, but as both players want to become the champion and go to that London stage.
Yungela was throwing straight fire at Jun during that though. Like, I think Jun was being really respectful in this video. It's like, yeah, I respect him, he's so good. And like, Jungela's like, he's only the favorite because he's more popular. Like, he's not actually skillful. Like, you can't say that to Jun, dude.
Well, Jun was even having some trash talk there with, well, I'm gonna be the first one, so have fun contesting for that 2nd spot. As we saw from the interview, as we have the trophy again. I think it's about similar for both creators here.
Yeah, I think I remember him being, Jungela being about 6,400.
400-ish? I believe so. I think that's the...
Being very similar here, it's going to be, as I said, it's going to be explosive. Like, I think both these players are going to bring out slightly more creative decks against each other.
Yep, as they also know each other so well from all the previous tournaments from YouTube. Of course, they are the competitors here at this last final match of the night.
Do you think Jun being the player's favorite to take the title might play into his ego a little bit and cause him to become sloppy later on?
I don't think he has any room to be sloppy, to be honest. If he wants to go to London, a single move, a single late. Oh, you can see that stare from June as he's staring at Yungela right now, as you can tell. You know, he's not going to be he has no room to be sloppy. Expo ban. Interesting.
I mean, we've seen it exactly one time tonight out of who knows how many games. 14 games, I think. I just don't think that's a worthy... Like, the Mega Knight, I can understand. That is a really, really good card. And I think Jun banned it in the first round as well. Like, he doesn't like this card. But the Expo, I can't make sense of why he would do that. Maybe Yungela knows something that we don't. Maybe he knows that Jun would like to play the Expo against him because of that factor of being like, yeah, I used an Expo against you and I won.
Sometimes there are a few ways of banning a card. Sometimes you want to ban a comfortable one, something like a very common card like Minor. That's going to come out it's going to be hard to deal with. But sometimes you want to go the other way and try to ban a surprising card that could come out, possibly. And if you saw that coming out in previous game, maybe you do not have a good way of dealing with that card. Then you just go ahead and just snipe ban that one. I think that's exactly why you have the Expo coming out from Yungela there.
Or you could do the Hemusu way and ban something that nobody really cares about.
Like Knight?
Yeah, like allowing... This actually happened in a few other games like I've seen, where if you ban something that doesn't actually matter and you let the other player play their strengths, sometimes they will go all out and they will pick everything that is meta, everything that is really strong right now, and actually forget all about the synergy, forget all about the counters, and it just causes them to make a poor choice.
We'll see as these players who have 3 minutes to build their decks right now. It seems like we have some spells and my eyes just cannot catch all 8 cards at the same time.
I think there was a Night Witch in there.
I think so, and lots of goblins.
We haven't actually seen Night Witch at all. Oh, have we seen her once?
Maybe just once, I think, in tonight's matches. We saw some... Yes, we did see a few at least.
Are you sure we didn't just see bats, though?
We saw lots of bats for sure.
Yeah, bats are a really good card, but I'm not sure if we saw Night Witch at all today. Which is interesting because she is practically everywhere on ladder.
And even in other regions, Night Witch comes out very often to have the ground control and also at the same time having some air units.
So it's kind of interesting that the Korean players are kind of shifting away from her a little bit.
Ooh, there's a Night Witch as you mentioned. Golem.
Balloon. Now that would be a very interesting choice if there was a balloon played.
I was expecting more balloons to be out, which was banned so many times in other regions like NA and EU, just because it was banned. And the reason I also got from those casters was they were saying because balloons are just annoying to deal with. It really forces out you to have some air units. Maybe you even need a minion horde to take care of it.
Or something to freeze it before it gets to your tower, but I completely agree with that. It is one of those cards that is just when you see it, you kind of let out a not again.
Yes, you have to stop it from coming to your tower because it does chunks of damage, also drops an explosive bomb.
Yeah,
we'll do the damage even more.
Even if it doesn't actually attack you, it's still going to deal a decent amount of damage.
It's very hard to counter, so we did not see any balloons. No bans, no card usage at all. Are we going to see balloon? I think we are ready to jump into game number 1 as the crowd are also ready. The clash between the big YouTubers of Korea. Let's see. Game number 1 between Jun and Yungela.
So starting off straight away, Yungela throws out that Goblin Barrel, but it's going to get cleaned up almost instantly. Does about 300 damage, which actually isn't that bad for a starting card like that.
We'll just counter that with a Minor.
Princess coming out, gets poisoned straight away. That's taken out really, really quickly. And the Ice Golem just walks past the Knight, and it's just like, yeah, I'll go hit the tower. I don't mind.
Jun bringing out the Knight. Exactly at
Perfect log there.
timing.
Perfect log.
Perfect log to deal with the barrel and also to push back the knight a little bit. Not to any damage. Of course, the log did some damage to that.
Princess again to deal with the miner. Interesting choice because it doesn't deal with it very quickly. It definitely needs those goblins to take away the aggro off your tower. Otherwise, the princess will continue tickling the miner and not dealing much damage to it at all.
Constantly throwing out. Now this is a choice. Use the log defensively to block one side, and bats do take care of the defense onto the other side. Nicely done by YUNGELA there. As sometimes if there are both lanes pressing in, you panic sometimes. It's really hard to distribute just like that. But see the use of all the miners there. Keep on scratching onto the towers, doing some damage along with the spell.
I actually really like the way that, like, at first I found it a bit weird, but the way Jun is consistently dealing with it is by throwing out the princess on one side and throwing out the goblins right next to the miner, which causes the poison to actually completely miss the princess or completely miss the goblins. And either way, that's a win for him. He has something at the end of it. But it seems that YUNGELA has quite an advantage in this match. He's dealt considerable damage to both towers. Poisons keep coming down, taking out everything he has, like taking out everything Jun has in defense.
So Jun, maybe he was holding that car for a long time because we did not see a single rocket before this one. He's just going to do some damage onto the towers. I think he's desperate.
I think he was hoping that that rocket would hit the ice golem as well, like to chip away some of his HP. It didn't quite work out that way.
And it is very close as the bottom right one only has 367 remaining on its tower HP. I think a single miner, even committing. Now there is a diversity attack right now.
That rocket just was like really wasted. Like he could have taken out the Inferno Dragon, he could have taken out the Ice Golem, he could have taken out a lot of things. But I feel that that was more of a frustration rocket than a I'm going to take away this tower.
That was, those rockets of course did some damage to the tower, but not enough to actually do a lot more than that. I think he needed a lot more. YUNGELA had a strategy with the miner to just get some HP off the tower all the time, and that's how he used all 3 minutes.
Yeah, the chip damage that we see from the miner, from poison, from all these little, like all these cards that don't deal necessarily massive damage alone, but when combined, they just run a little bit rampant. It's incredible. Like it's crazy to see.
Oh, look at this. Look at this cute little one cheering for Jun, and also YUNGELA. Says both fighting, just cheering them on at the venue. Seems like he's a big fan of both YouTubers here.
Yeah, I mean, both of them probably share a lot of user base with each other. Like, there's probably a lot of back and forth going between them outside of this. Like, they probably talk to each other inside Clash Royale. Like, they're both big YouTubers, so there's probably a bit of trash talk between the two about who has more subscribers, whose video gets more views, like who gets more subscriptions, likes, all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot more to this rivalry than just tournament results.
It has been the way, from what I know, from previous tournaments too. And a big prize money on the line, as this is the first set of matches to go advance into the decider match and the semifinals. Soon will be the finals, decided in just a little bit over a month in Korea. And the champion, will, along with that prize money, will be going to London very soon. And have a minute of change. Jun finally has that serious face on his face now.
Yeah, like during the first game, he seemed very relaxed. He was just taking it easy. Now he's like, that's it. I've lost the game. I'm going to go all out. Like, you've activated my rage mode. I'm just going to go waka, and I'm just going to take you out right here, right now.
Maybe he will bring in that rage potion.
But do you think this might be the first 3-0? Do you think YUNGELA has the ability to take it to 3-0?
But we'll see. I think Miner could be a big one. Does he have does he have the good counter against the Miner coming out from YUNGELA? Let's go into match number 4, set number 2. Same. June in blue, in the bottom. And up on top in red, Yungela waiting for the next move.
Are both of them just going to sit here for the next 2 minutes and 40 seconds and not actually play anything?
It's the screen did not stop, guys. The game is going on, as you can see the timer going down.
Yungela had his hands off the device completely. Finally puts down a unit, finally puts down that bandit. Nice goblins to take, to positively trade there.
They're just trying to see what kind of cards the opponent has, how to counter against it. Even with the knight actually drops down the miner onto perfect one because they will both be frozen. They don't get 400 amount of HP out from the tower, and also this poison spell working well along with the log doing even more.
Yeah, miner is clearly something that is really, really good in this kind of matchup.
Here comes the graveyard. June bringing the graveyard and doing tons of damage, and Infernal Dragon is actually not the best one against the graveyard though.
But as it moves forward, it's quite scary to look at. Like, you know you're going to be facing down a lot of damage, especially with miner coming out as well. It's very, very strong. Like, the tower's going to be attacking that miner the whole time. The Infernal Dragon's just going to be like, I'm going to vomit all over the tower and I'm going to deal a lot of damage. Bandit again, like taking out the Electro Wizard.
Well, cannot charge in as the knight. Seems like Jun uses a lot of knights. Hamasu's band seemed like it was a good choice against June, who is using lots of knights tonight as the bats along with Ice Golem. And the miner is charging in.
Pulled away from the tower with a good tornado again. But Jun doesn't look as aggressive. I thought he was going to come out in the second game after losing one and be like, all right, I'm just going to take a tower, I'm going to blitz you. And he's just not doing particularly well.
We're still seeing a similar strategy coming out from Yungela though, keeping the miner.
Dealing all that chip damage, all that damage over time, it counts up.
Both players focusing everything onto the right lane. This graveyard actually doing tons of damage to the tower.
The miner again. Oh, good. That was a good tornado.
Perfect
Pulls him off. But does he have
tornado.
something that can deal with this Ice Golem and Inferno Dragon and Bandit? Baby Dragon comes out, Electro Wizard comes out, but
nice poison spell.
Good defense, good defense. He's going to push forward with this Baby
Solid
Dragon
defense.
and a Knight.
Does he have a graveyard? Yes, he does. This one could do so much damage as the poison spell was just dropped out from Yungela last time. Seems like it's not enough. 51, and he does take game number 2 off of Yungela. June takes it.
I was not expecting such passive play from June in the second game. After losing the first, I was expecting him to go all out aggression. I was expecting towers. I was expecting 3 crowns within like 35 seconds. Both of these played a very, very defensive game.
That was a slow attacks coming out from both sides, just focusing in onto one lane. They did not even have a single unit going down the other lane.
Can you imagine being the archer on top of the tower there, just like, oh hey, my buddy's getting really, really injured and I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Watching the birds fly by, getting a little bit of a suntan.
I think one of the best tactic that June actually used is to use the tornado to activate the King Tower from the, not the very beginning, but
very
into the first minute, I believe. And that really helped greatly when he was trying to defend against Yungela's attack. And the Infernal Dragon could not really land on any hits onto the tower. I think he was, of course, looking for more damage onto the tower. Could have been close. I think both Poison Spell were very effective. The Tornado defensively, and also the Graveyard coming in for June was really handy. Came in really handy in game 2. But still 1-1 tied.
Again, the Graveyard comes out and it turns the tide of a game that at least I thought was almost over. Like, I thought that June was out of it, but the Graveyard comes out. Suddenly, the whole tempo swings back from Yungela back to June. And it felt like it gave such an advantage because it takes all the aggro away from any other attacking units that you're throwing down. And it just dealt so much damage.
We'll see some shakes on his head coming out from 윤겔라.
It looked like he was debating using a balloon. Like that angle, I saw a balloon, he clicked off it, went to the guild menu to like ready up for the game, then went back through and changed again. So yeah, maybe we are going to see a balloon game this time.
Well, we'll see as we are getting ready to jump into game number 3 now. It is tied between Jun and 윤겔라, 1-1. Still anyone's series, it is close. Let's go jump into game number 3. And who takes the lead in game number 3? Yes, we are ready to jump in. There's a rematch in game number 3, and here we go.
So yes, pineapples on pizza is perfectly okay.
Yeah, starting with the barrel, seems like we're watching the replay, but it is going to be different reaction coming out from 윤겔라 this time.
With the ice golem coming down, goblins and the miner, this is going to be quite a bit of chip damage. The ice spirit there jumping onto the goblins wasn't ideal. You really want that to land on top of the miner to stop him from dealing any kind of damage to that tower.
It was a good, fair trade, I would say, for both. Of course, in favor of 윤겔라 a little bit by 300-ish HP onto the tower. But here comes the knight. I think Jun's favorite is the knight. I think he was trying to predict another unit coming out right in front. It was not perfectly timed as 윤겔라 was just waiting for the perfect moment.
Yeah, I just don't know what to make of the rocket. Like, we saw this in the last game where rockets are just going straight at towers. If it's trying to be predictive, I wouldn't try to use a 6 elixir card to try and be predictive.
This miner, along with the poison spell, did so much damage onto the other side, going down to 884 from, I believe, 1300-ish.
I mean, it's a really strong combination. Whenever these two cards are together, you're guaranteed to get at least 3-4 hits on the miner, because it's so hard to deal with him without putting those weaker units on top of him.
Nice log. This miner can do so much more without the princess on the other side. Princess was taken out from the log pretty quickly. Nicely dealt with.
We've got the same situation. Have you noticed? Same situation as the
this miner doing tons of damage and Jun not really reacting perfectly against it.
Both players are playing completely down the right-hand side again. The left side is completely untouched. Well, basically untouched.
It does have the miner, but this time Jun does not have a tornado. I think that's the biggest problem that he has right now. Infernal Dragon doing some damage. Now he will be going up against the Infernal Tower here. There's another poison spell drops down, doing some damage to the remaining HP of the tower, going down to 220. Even less than 200 now.
Out comes the miner and a couple more scratches.
One more and that should be it.
Jun now has 20 seconds to turn this game around. He needs to deal 1,645 damage to this tower as soon as possible. He cannot wait any longer. If he has a trigger to pull, he needed to pull it 5 seconds ago.
Well, that rocket did not do the most amount of damage as 윤겔라 just takes that win with the miner once more. Seems like Jun does not have the best defense against what's going on right now in this match.
Yeah, Jun looks shaken. I don't think he was expecting to be down 2-1 at this point, and that game was really decisive. It wasn't really that close. I never felt at that point that Jun had control over what was going on.
So now this is the real mind game going on. Do you need to bring in the tornado once more to activate your King Tower to have a greater defense against the miners, because that will come in super handy, just like what he did in game number 2, and that's how he started to get his defense going and how his units started to push in through, because once his defense got so much better, then he had lots of room, lots of time to not use his defensive units, but actually turn into an offensive mode and pushed in towards 윤겔라. That's how he won game 2. But in game 3, without the tornado, without so many defensive forces, it could not do too much against the miner.
well, whatever he does need to change something in his toolbox. That is 100% certain. Like I do think he needs Tornado because Yungela obviously loves this minor card. He's played it nearly every game. Actually, I think he has played it every game. Poison plus minor equals a win for Yungela.
Well, let's see. Poison Tornado and Graveyard.
That was a good mix. That's what he won with last. That's what Jun won with last time. But is there, like, you're changing? Basically, the only difference between those two decks is Poison is replaced with Graveyard.
Yes.
Both will deal at least some damage to it. Well, actually, Poison guarantees damage against the tower.
But comparing to Minor, is Jun's barrel being effective at this moment? I don't think so.
No,
and
I really don't.
Maybe that's a card that we need to have some changes with. Barrel just flew in, did some scratches, but most of the time Zap was the answer against it. And oftentimes Yungela just had what it takes to go against the barrel, just like that. It seems like we are ready for game number 4. Could be the end of the series if Yungela takes this one, as he is leading the series with 2-1. Let's get into game number 4.
So I completely agree with you. I think the barrel has been Jun's downfall.
Oh, Yungela bringing that heavy once more, and as soon as you see the Elixir Collector drop down, he's bringing the Miner chunking down, so he cannot use the maximum benefit from it.
Using Bandit and Miner, this is a very, very good deck. I mean, both players now have very similar cards shown. We can be 100% sure that, like, the Elixir is going to push Yungela a little bit further ahead each time. Like, I think it makes its cost back at least every time it drops it.
Begin, and the poison spell actually activated the King Tower for Yungela, working it. He'll be happy to have that King Tower there.
That was a bit of a mistake from Jun, I feel. Like, he really, really does not want to activate.
The P.E.K.K.A. is slowly moving in along with the bat, but this log will just push him, and minions will just do the rest of the damage.
And if the minions aren't doing the damage, the King Tower is. Like, activating that King Tower actually puts you at such a disadvantage.
Bandit did get a charge into the tower, which did so much damage for Jun. But after a while, he's also holding one more card, and that's not a Miner for sure. Seems like he actually wants to do max damage with this poison spell, along with...
So he hits 3 structures at the same time. Spreading that damage out across the 3... Well, I mean, it's not spreading, but that damage being put onto 3 buildings could actually make a difference in the final.
Yungela, I think, intentionally placed the Elixir Collector a little bit towards the right, because you cannot put it in the center exactly. That also allowed the poison spell to be damaging the King Tower also at the same time.
So it seems like Jun is fighting fire with fire here. He is using Miner and Poison, which is exactly what Yungela has done the last few games that he's won. It's such a powerful combo for these players.
See Bats take out the remaining 2 Musketeers. And good defenses coming out from Jun this time. He has been working very well, especially against the Elixir Collector, dropping down from Yungela every single time. That poison spell, of course, along with the Miner. So the Elixir has not been too effective in this game yet.
Yeah, Jun really has managed to stop the Elixir Collector from running rampant like it has done in previous games. Like, he has dealt chip damage to it. He's sent his miners to it. He knows that if it stays up, he's going to lose the game. He's going to lose all the tempo. But he's managed to win tempo, or at least come out even every time.
Nicely done in the defense of Yungela, as a lot of the units were focused onto the right side. That could have been a huge hit landing onto the tower, so not too much actually, as he just finished all the units with the log previously.
I think this is the closest we've got to the tie that you're asking for.
Especially for June, if he loses this game, the series is over.
Poison out again, like guaranteed damage to the tower. Good damage on the two musketeers because the other one walked away. I mean, this I'm not sure how to call this right now. Like, it's getting close on both sides. The two elixirs now that have been running, like they haven't been challenged, has started to swing this game hugely in YNGELA's favor.
Let's see as this Pekka did so much damage. Now it's close.
3 elixir collectors.
This will give so much boost for YNGELA's late game power. Another poison spell dropped down to take care of the bullet. But 3 musketeers doing tons of damage. The zap stunning them for a second,
but not dealing with them enough. This is difficult to call. I think this might be the final push from YNGELA. I think this will do it. Yeah, he knows it. YNGELA takes the victory over his rival June. Incredible game.
That was an incredible game. One of the closest game we've ever had.
Took it as long as possible.
Those charges in that did so much damage from the Dark One, and of course the Miner did scratches, and Pekka did somewhat coming out from June, but the Elixir Collector at the end, I think, really brought the power for YNGELA, and just having that long fight eventually went to the Elixir Collector. I think, as you mentioned, tonight the card we have to really highlight on is the Elixir Collector.
It has done so much for these games. Like in the early game, Jun was dealing with those elixir collectors really, really quickly. He was sending miners after them. He was taking them out. Boom, boom, boom. He was just trying to get rid of them. But in the late game, he started to slip. And then all of a sudden, YNGELA has 3 elixir collectors collecting so much extra elixir that he had too much tempo going forwards and just overrun anything that June could put out. It was close. He only needed about 600-700 more damage on the left-hand tower, but he just couldn't get it down once the tempo started to swing.
That's the thing, as Jun also had a pretty good way of dealing with the poison spell. I was amazed by how effective he was using the poison spell, even throwing out the bat to delay the musketeers from escaping that poison zone. It was very effective every single time, almost every single time. But poison spell does a lot of damage to the weaker units with low HP, but you cannot do too much damage with the tanky ones with lots of very high HP that cost a lot of elixirs. And with the perfect timing, YNGELA really made that push work, along with some musketeers and along with some... what other units was he using at the same time? I don't quite remember all 10 cards.
He was using bandits.
Bandits, of course.
I'm not sure what the other ones were, but the Dark Princes. He was just playing very, very strong, high-impact cards.
We'll see as we have the results for the last match tonight. YNGELA will take 2 wins after the first opening day of Global Series Korea here from Crown Championship. What a play we see from YNGELA. Jun was very close, and we did see that Knight is one of his favorite cards in coming out in basically all of his decks when it's not banned out.
And it didn't really help him that much. It's a great card, but it never seemed to put Jun over the edge in his attacking phase. And YNGELA is clearly super happy about winning that. Like, this is bragging rights now for the next 6 months. No matter what happens, no matter what happens, YNGELA can always come to this moment
until the next round robin, because they do have to face each other once more because we have double round robin format for Group A, and they are in the same group, so there will be another match coming up between these 2 creators of YouTube, not creators of YouTube, YouTube creators. That would be amazing if they're creators of YouTube.
These 2 guys, they created YouTube all on their own just by making Clash Royale videos. It's like, it's getting to that time of the night, isn't it?
Well, we're going to take a look at the replay. Believe this is the very last one.
Yeah, I think that was the only game we saw. Yeah, match 4. No, wait,
Yeah.
this is match 4. I think this is set 4, yeah. Yeah, it is. It's the same opening. So, the Elixir Collector comes down, and Jun deals with it pretty well. He starts chipping away at it, making sure that it won't recover more than its cost.
Well, let's see the cards drop down here.
Ice Golem, Dark Prince, like... This is why Jun had a lot of tempo going into that first half of the game.
And I think there was a pause because that poison spell actually activated the king. I think that's what the Korean commentators were saying because they stopped right there. That also brought a lot of defensive power for Yungela. A big mistake for Jun.
If that hadn't have been activated, I think there would have been just enough damage to push Jun over the edge. See, I think that miner there would have got 1 or 2 more hits. And
Just
every
notice
time it
how
comes out-
much extra damage the king is having onto all the units that's coming up to the red side on top. You'll notice how much, especially when the miner dives in. Just like this, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and easily taken care of without much defense.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been an extra 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 attacks. Depending on, like, you know, certain little factors of whether the tower gets
And
distracted.
that also brought so much more defensive use and extra safety for Yungela's Elixir Collectors. Because if Miner dies so quickly, then it's easier for him to have all the structures in the back just like that. And at the end, we saw Yungela having up to 3 Elixir Collectors.
That's just crazy. Like, this is the moment, really, where Jun stops caring. When I say stop caring, I mean stop caring about the Elixir Collectors. The next Elixir Collector goes down for way too long. But we can also see that Yungela is focused on that left-hand side for most of the game. But Jun is spreading the damage, and I think that also comes back to bite him a little bit.
It was close, as you can see it going over time, but this Dark Prince actually charging in. It's starting to build up some damage. This Dark Prince actually did solely more than 1,000 damage by himself alone.
Yeah, I think that's the tower that won the game, right?
Yes, the bottom right tower, I think that went down, and the next set of attack coming out from Yungela down, along with another Dark Prince, I think that actually finishes the match. This is...
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Charge in to the tower and doing tons of damage to the first tower down, and that's game 3-1 and the end of the series. And Yungela takes 2 wins. Jun, of course, winning against Hamasu, took a very good, satisfying win at first, but losing against your big competitor should be a scratch on your pride, though.
It clearly will hurt his heart. He is probably going home tonight. He's going to sit there at his computer and think, where did it all go wrong?
Oh, here we go. Oh, seems like it's not too updated yet, as we do not have a loss for Jun.
Let's just pretend that 0 is a 1, and this is correct, right?
But the indicator score is right, because even if you lose, you don't get any points. So Yungela standing on top of the standing for Group A now.
With 2 wins, we have Jun in second place. 1 win, 1 loss, puts him 3 points. Jungang also 1 win, 1 loss, 3 points.
Also Hamasu lost twice, so with 0 points there. And we will be having next set of matches coming up with Group B. We have some cool players coming up, as we have one of the youngest players, I believe, and the oldest player in this group too.
I'm just looking at the names. I'm looking at Zebra.
Zebra, I believe, is the oldest player in the group. And top left, you see it's called Expo Master. I want to see a lot more Expos, maybe a little more bans coming out. We saw 1 ban of Expo tonight. Maybe we'll see. Maybe it will be the dedicated ban against that guy, because his name is basically Expo Master in Korean. I think you should ban that card against him.
It could be a feint. He might actually be terrible with the card.
That's
Calls
right.
himself Expo Master, so nobody bans his secret weapon, which is a skeleton.
I'm pretty sure that he will be practicing a lot more decks without Expo, because that could be a very big target as we head into Group B set of matches coming up at you guys. A few days later, But that's going to be it. How was your first day of Clash
It was
Royale?
good. I've really enjoyed it. I was honestly, before this, I was so nervous. Like, and now I'm like, where's the next? I want to do Group B now.
You do?
Yeah, I do. Let's just do Group B now. Let's just do it.
I do need. I will be honest. I do need some more coffee. If you're going to the Group B now, but we are not going to. Thank God. And that's gonna be it for us tonight, as we will have a lot more matches coming up with Group B later on in a few days. There's 4 matches. I had some mistakes also, but after watching today, after watching all the Korean action, I'm very excited even more going into the next round robin in Group B. We will close here tonight for Global Series Korea, but we will catch you guys more an upcoming day and more Clash Royale.